in Wicked Part 2. Hunter and I are going to give you all of the tea. I'm a professional musical theater performer, and Hunter is very smart, so I guarantee that you're gonna find a perspective here that you are not going to find anywhere else. You know, I think so. You're very, you know, cultured in terms of, like, you know, a lot of, like, old movies, new movies, like, you know, cinephile, is that what
you're here for the musical theater,
you're
I'm
here
here
for the
movies.
Exactly,
okay.
exactly.
The two perspectives,
So we are going
genders.
to give you a non-spoiler review and our thoughts for the people that don't want spoilers, but this video is intended to be a discussion, so we are going to get into spoilers scene by scene, and we hope that you guys will follow along too and tell us your thoughts. But okay, so here's my thoughts. I was kind of a hater, like, when the first movie came out, before I should say. I was like, I'm afraid they're gonna ruin one of my favorite musicals, right? And I was pleasantly surprised. Like, I was so blown away by how good the movie was. Were there some things that I had issues with? Yes, I talked about that in this review that I did, if you had seen it. And I was like, run, don't walk, like, go see it. It's so good, it deserves to be seen in the theater. Now, this time, I still think that you should go to the theater, but here's my thought, basically. It deserves to be seen in the theater setting, right? It was very visually stunning, and even the audio and all that stuff. But, like, go on a Tuesday. I don't know if you guys have this, right? But in Canada, we have Cineplex, and they do a discount on Tuesdays.
A lot of
on
theaters
the
will do,
discount
like,
day,
discount
right?
day, Tuesday, Wednesday, around there.
Exactly. Go on the discount day. You don't need to go, like, this sounds so silly, but, like, I was like, I could have edited yesterday. Like, we didn't need to go. Obviously, we did it for work and whatever, but I'm like, I didn't need to be there in, like, the early screening. I could have been editing the Has-Been Hotel reactions that we have to do. And you guys know I hate editing, so it wasn't like editing would have been better than this. It was just, like, I didn't feel that need to, like, see it immediately after I already saw it, or I was like, I didn't really, because they didn't change that much, right? So I was like, oh, we gotta go so we don't get spoiled on whatever changes they make. And so, yeah, so being as non-spoiler as possible, everybody's acting and their singing was phenomenal. I was really surprised by, like, the depth of Ariana's performance, you know, emotionally.
Revo is really very good.
She's just amazing.
She's
like, you know,
like
vocally,
kind of amazing.
She's just amazing. And so everybody did, like, okay, so obviously the lady that plays Madame Morrible, she can't sing, but we knew that already.
That is like my note, is that I love Michelle Yeoh. She's in a lot of, like, brilliant movies, but she can't sing. They give her, like, one little stinger in the beginning of the film. You can tell it's supposed to be...
Well, she's talking, right?
Yeah.
So they had her propaganda talk instead of singing.
But, like, she hits a kind of a note there where it's like, oh, wait, I don't even know if you recognized it as singing.
Oh,
but, like,
maybe.
she was singing.
Do you mean in Thank Goodness? Oh, no, it was probably Every Day More Wicked. Maybe she sung a little bit. Yeah, maybe
but, like,
she
didn't quite, like, you're like, oh, it's supposed to be, like, up here, but she's down here.
And my mom, because we were rewatching Wicked the other night, and so my mom was like, don't you dare insult her. She told them no. She told them that she couldn't sing, and they pressured her into it anyway. My mom was like, #1 Michelle Yeoh defense. Here's the thing, though, okay? I get it. I get that she was up front with them. I don't understand why they just didn't dub her over. Now, personally, you guys know that I hate that. I think that if you're in a musical, you should be able to sing. I feel very passionate about that as a performer, especially for live action. With animation, whatever, you can get away with it. However, in this case, she's gonna get dubbed over in every other language anyway. So just give her, like, have a singer dub her over.
I don't know, like, I like
Michelle
Yeoh a lot, but, like, this character, you could have gotten someone else to do it that could sing.
And I get
it's
that,
not like there was some special sauce she had for Madame Morrible in the non-singing parts where it's like we just had to have her.
I agree.
I think for whatever reason the director just really wanted her.
Yeah, I don't know why either. Like, even if they're, you know, because in this version she is a bit more menacing and calculating, whereas I would say in, like, original Wicked, like in the stage play, she's kind of like almost like Ursula. Like, she is dressed as a sort of drag character, right? Like, she has, like, giant hair and, like, you know, very
where she's just,
like, I don't know, prominent makeup. I don't know how to exactly to explain it, but
she has her, like, one note where she's
very,
either like I'm being adored or I'm being very severe.
Yeah.
And it's like you didn't need Michelle Yeoh. You could have gotten someone else. So that was
the only thing that, like, I think that that's gonna be the biggest stain on rewatching both of these movies.
Even Jeff Goldblum, who I tend not to like as much as other people do, I thought he was really great in this.
Yeah, that's our non-spoiler of like people's performances. I thought the color grading looked better. Everything
the
was very
cinematography
beautiful.
was really good.
I feel like they kind of took the criticism that people had the first time, right?
Well, we rewatched the
Yeah, and
first one
rewatching
recently.
it on Amazon,
It almost
looked
looked like
different
they
than in the
changed the
theater. So
coloring.
I don't know
Yeah.
about all that. But let's talk about maybe vaguely the stuff that was not so excellent. Did they change stuff in part 2 to make things work? No. I'm gonna say no. They didn't change enough. They changed a little bit, but they didn't do enough. The new songs were not very lyrically strong.
They were okay.
They were fine,
Girl
but
in the Bubble
like
it worked.
Stephen Schwartz, here's the thing. I was worried about this because Stephen Schwartz did Prince of Egypt on Broadway,
Yes.
which was not great.
The original Prince of
Right?
Egypt movie is amazing.
But like his new lyrics and
Apparently
composition,
not great.
not that good. So I was worried because I was like, I think the man has lost the sauce, and that's kind of how I felt about this. No Place Like Home was kind of just reheating When You Believe's nachos, like from the Prince of Egypt. That's what it sounded like to me. And Girl in a Bubble was fine, but it wasn't like, it didn't have the Aussian
there was
lyrics,
like,
if that
yeah.
makes sense. Like, it just didn't feel like it was from Wicked, and I can't really pinpoint what it was about it.
And
but
this is like the Aussian, in the first movie, the Aussian weird idiosyncrasies and idioms in the language were charming. They say a clock's tick like 18 times in this movie.
I did notice that.
To the point where it's like you couldn't think of any other fun one. It was fun the first time. At like the 8th time, I'm like, why do we keep saying
Yeah, it
this
was
word?
a little annoying, and it's even more annoying because they don't bring up the clock, the clock of the time anyway. They don't bring up the clock of the time dragon, at least not how I thought that they were going to. Like, obviously, at the beginning of the first movie, Glinda says, according to the clock of the time dragon, right? So she mentions it, but like, the whole point of Wicked is that it's taking place, like, on Broadway. It's in the clock, so I thought that we were actually going to see said clock anyway. So I thought that that's why they kept mentioning the clock tick thing, because it was supposed to be like, you know, we would eventually
But no, it's just like the writing wasn't as strong.
Yeah, in the script, I would say. And then obviously those songs were a little bit questionable.
I mean, that's my going into, like, this compared to the first Wicked movie, I had low expectations for the first Wicked movie, because the second I saw them split it in half, I was like, why would you do that? Famously, Wicked, I just remember it always being like understood that the first half of Wicked is way better than the second half.
Right.
So why would you split it in two? You would just have a not as good movie.
And we thought, oh, the time is extended, so they're going to fix it. But here's my thing. All of that extra time, I legitimately have no clue where it went because they didn't add that much. So I'm like, you had, like, I guess half a Broadway show length, right? Because you already
You're
had
expanding the second half into two halves.
So much time, and nothing was expanded. Again, we'll talk about it, but in terms of the script, there were a couple things that they added that I liked. There were a couple things that the movie made worse than Act 2. There were a couple things that were improved from Act 2, but is it an improvement on the musical's Act 2? Yes. Does that mean they fixed Act 2? No, and that's my thesis
and that
going
was,
into the spoiler section that we'll explain, right?
And like with Wicked, it met my expectations because I was like, okay, I guess it'll be like the first one, but not as good because they're dealing with more flawed source material.
Right,
and
but
that's
they had
basically
the
what
opportunity
happened.
to fix it.
And then they just kind of
and
didn't.
I had ideas on how to fix it. If you guys know, I made a theory, and lots of people were like, "Oh my God, you got it! That's exactly what's gonna happen." I'm not saying like, "Oh, my theory didn't happen, and so now I'm mad." But I'm just saying that like people had thoughts about what they would add from the book and how they would kind of fix Act 2, and they didn't do anything, so it seems even more redundant that they split it in the first place, because where did the time go? Where did it go, bestie? I don't know. So I guess in summary of our non-spoilers, obviously if you're a fan, go see it, right? If you saw the first one and you're not as much of a fan, but you're still interested in like completing your experience, of course go, but like go on sale. You don't need to pay full price. I
would see it in a theater just because I think the cinematography and the scale of it's quite strong. There was a lot of scenes that were like really beautiful. The way they shoot Elphaba, I wish they gave her more scary things to do, I guess.
Yeah.
Because the way they shoot her, she's always very imposing in the sky. She's very frightening. I didn't view the Wicked Witch of the West other than like when I was a child and I watched The Wizard of Oz for the first time. She's very scary when you're a kid.
They convinced you why people would be afraid of of her,
Yeah,
which I feel like that
they
the
make it
Broadway
work.
show struggled with a little
Yes.
bit, right?
They still
but-
could have improved on that, but like still see it in theaters because it's like the scope
But yeah,
of
the
it
performances
delivers.
are really
Yeah.
really great. It's I think our problems are the
The
script.
plot, yeah.
And I have one costume beef that we'll talk about
Oh
later.
my.
But with that mysterious entry, okay, let's talk about Everyday More Wicked. I like how in this song they reestablish Glinda and Elphaba's motivations. That was really interesting. I believe Elphaba said something like, the wizard is a fraud, right? So it kind of
Yeah.
says like, oh, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm going to try to show everyone
Mm-hmm.
that the wizard lies. And then you had a loathing leitmotif. It's not a reprise, but like they brought up loathing and you had sort of the dance choreography from loathing and Glinda's little friends were there. And I like that you see what they actually are doing in Act 2 because that's been the whole thing of like, what is Glinda's job? But you see her like, she's signing things. They're like, oh, you have to go attend to this. You have to go to this concert, right?
She's
You know.
she really is like she's like equivalent to the British monarchy. You're just around
Yeah,
to like
kinda.
open schools and give speeches and kiss
Exactly,
babies.
right? And
basically.
so I like that her friends kind of rose up with her. Like I thought that that was sort of interesting
Yes.
because remember when she treats Elphaba nicely in part 1, they're like, "What are you doing? Don't do that." So you kind of see from the beginning that they have a vested interest in keeping Glinda popular for
I
their
will
own
say
sakes,
that you
and
have
then they
oh my god,
rise up as well.
Bowen Yang. He does not show up as he's a little at the beginning to basically
But it was
be
nice
the
to
same
just see
character.
that, like, you know,
Yeah.
Glinda has friends, you know,
Yeah.
it happened. But I love that
It
they brought
happened.
back the loathing choreography and that
Yes.
stuff. Oh, well, I should have said sorry. So before that, sorry, Elphaba fucks people up. That's how the movie opens.
Yes.
So Marble's doing this speech of like, don't trust the Wicked Witch and whatever. And we see Elphaba. So the animals are building the yellow brick
As, like,
road.
slave
and
labor,
it's kind of like Prince of
presumably.
Egypt
Yeah.
core, right? We're gonna be talking a lot about Prince of Egypt
There's
today.
a lot
and
of
because
comparisons.
Steven Schwartz wrote it, and also because of something that we'll talk about later in terms of like a theory I had, whatever. And they
Some of
didn't
the
fix
song-
the animal plot line exactly that we'll get into.
Like
so
the comparison between like No One Mourns the Wicked and like Deliver Us, like
Yeah.
there's like they felt weirdly similar
They
in
share,
the
like,
choral.
DNA
singing,
and a sort
yeah.
of like the heart and soul of the songwriter
It's
kind
like
of. I
the
can't
same
explain it,
the
right?
same guy wrote both of these. I can see that
It
now.
poured out of his heart. But yeah, so the animals are building the road in Elphaba. She
Mm-hmm.
uses it's interesting because the Oz guards have like whips and
And
stuff,
they're
so she
whipping
uses
the
their own whips against
enslaved
them.
animals.
And I thought that that was great. Like I love that. Like I thought that she was so badass. She was cool.
Like-
she was like on the broom, like riding the broom like this, and like it was very like, you know, they kind of Marvelified her, but like in a good way. Like usually I hate when movies are just trying to like reheat Marvel's nachos for the, oh yeah, let's make Elsa a super suit because superheroes are cool now. No, with Elphaba it made sense.
Yes.
All of her superhero activity. So yeah, that was the first thing we saw. Sorry.
I will say about like they do a lot right. Like they have like they're like clear cutting the forest.
yeah,
like,
there
build
was an
the road.
environmental thing
Yeah,
that I thought they
it's
would tap more
visually
into.
it's very upsetting. Like obviously the animals have been enslaved. Like they're getting whipped. I kind of wish Elphaba was more scary. All she does is like steal someone's whip and like whip them back and like
I thought
pick
she
them
was
up and drop
cool,
them down.
but-
in the movie, like she has like fire magic. She
That's
causes
true.
fire.
But she wouldn't want to cause more environmental
I know that,
destruction.
but like couldn't she have like I don't know
What,
like
lightning strike them
because
or
like there was a
something?
bunch of piles of the yellow bricks all over the place, and like couldn't you have like I don't know exploded those in balls of fire?
Yeah,
Your magic,
maybe.
right?
Like, and then a brick could have like hit somebody.
yeah, and like a
something
little
like
bit
that.
of fire. Like she doesn't have to like destroy a forest or anything, but
Right,
like
right,
I
right.
kind of wanted her to be more like this is gonna be weird, like a dragon in Game of Thrones.
I get
like
it.
this really like terrifying
I
flying
think that
monster.
she was still scary in terms of how they shot her, but you're talking about her actual
Like I just
combat
yeah,
prowess. I guess
not
you
even
could say.
combat prowess. Like here's the thing, they do an okay job, but it's like when they whip them, they're like, oh, I'm throwing my hands in the air because I'm getting whipped, and it's like I don't know. I kind of wanted
I
her to
see.
be more frightening, to communicate like how people view her.
Right.
Right? Like, because that's sort of the idea. They're propagandizing off of this like terrifying villain, and I feel like they just do a lot in the movie to undermine
I guess
that.
my argument is that Elphaba isn't what they say that she is, right? And so
Well, she doesn't hurt anybody.
Right.
She wants to scare him. That's
but
my idea.
I think that what you're saying would work if later we saw her do a similar thing again, and this time she actually hurt people, like after No Good Deed. Like it would have been nice to maybe put a scene in between No Good Deed and For Good, where Elphaba, because she says, and we'll get to this later, like No Good Deed, I won't do any more good again. And then like like,
doesn't,
that
and
doesn't
then,
really
yeah,
go
doesn't
anywhere.
really
She
do
doesn't go
anything.
do evil, right? And
I
so,
was like,
maybe
okay.
that could have been a nice
Yeah.
juxtaposition of what Hunter's saying. Like, yes, here she's trying to do something good, but she's not hurting anyone. Maybe then she could go kill some people. I don't know.
Also, slavery. If you're gonna kill somebody,
Right.
Like,
You're saying
slave drivers.
Yeah.
These are not people that you should feel terribly like, you know,
yeah.
to.
Or like, you know what's weird? Okay, so sorry, we're jumping around a bit, but like, they mention, oh, Nessa, the other governors want you to sign this bill into effect, and I'm like, other governors? We don't know anything about all that.
Yeah.
Like, it would have kind of been interesting if Elphaba went around to like the other towns and maybe killed some governors.
I mean,
don't know.
presumably
Again,
there's also
I'm not
the
trying to
Winkies.
make her
I don't
into
know.
like Lelouch or something. Like, I'm not trying
But,
to go,
like, kinda.
but like, after No Good
'Cause,
Deed
like, the
anyway, when
book's
she
way more
stops
political,
caring
right?
about her image, right, and stops, like, she basically, to me, No Good Deed is, I'm gonna give up trying to expose the wizard as a fraud
I'm
because
gonna
it
kill
doesn't
this
matter
guy.
anyway. Like, nothing I do matters, so I might as well just embrace being evil, right? But then she doesn't really do the evil. Like, in the book, she's, like, planting bombs, like, you know, and I feel like, we're gonna talk about this later, I feel like parts of the movie are held back by the sort of PG rating that it has. I think that's everything I remember from Everyday More Wicked. I do like that song reintroducing the musical. I like
liked
that they made it its own song instead of just tacked on to Thank Goodness. I thought that that was a good idea. Do you have
Yeah.
any more beef with the Everyday More Wicked scene
No.
section?
Other than that's when Michelle Yeoh gives her best shot, and you're like, God, I love you. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Great. I believe she's in that. She's been in good movies.
Right.
And it's not even that she's bad. It's just like, why? Like, I feel bad. It's like she got bullied into like being put into an
let's talk
unwinnable
about
situation.
Thank Goodness. I'm pretty sure they cut out some of Madame Morrible's singing. Like,
I wonder why.
I'm pretty sure. Do you remember? I'm pretty sure they didn't do like the with a jealous squeal, the wicked witch, vast from concealment. I don't know. That doesn't sound right.
No.
But I don't think that
I
they
believe they
did
cut that out.
that thing, which is kind of questionable though, because that's the section where Madame Morrible is explaining to everyone that Glinda and Elphaba both went to see the wizard, and then Elphaba like pulled shit with the wizard, and oh thank goodness that Glinda was there. That's the part where it's establishing that Glinda was sort of chosen over Elphaba in terms of the propaganda that she's trying to spin out.
We can kind of presume that.
I know, but like it's just
Here's the
sort
thing,
of
whatever they cut out, what they left back was still kind of boring. That
Right,
whole scene
right.
when like she
But I'm
shows
just saying
up.
that's an important thing
and
for
they-
Morrible,
yeah,
right? Because
okay.
she's also feeding Glinda's ego in front of everybody else as well, which I'm sure she's already done off screen. But
it's like from the very-
I think that Morrible part is important in the musical, so I'm kind of sad that they cut it.
That's like, I almost feel like they don't want to make Glinda too unlikable, so they don't like have her like ego be played on. They mostly just have her be a well-meaning idiot,
I see what you're saying,
right?
yeah.
So like maybe that would
Which
help.
maybe they softened her a
But
little
that
bit
whole
too
scene
much
was
because
like,
she's
yeah.
supposed to be sort of
Yeah.
obviously, and thank goodness she feels bad, but she is supposed to sort of be drinking the Kool-Aid. I mean, that's what Fiyero calls her out for later. I did like the scene that they had behind, like they kind of go behind the thing and they talk to each other, and Fiero's like, no, you're enjoying this way too much. Let's be honest with yourself. You're not doing it for them, you're doing it for you, right? He had some sort of line like that, so that conflict was good. Okay, so I guess I should go back to the beginning. So the beginning of Thank Goodness, pretty much what I expected. It was hilarious. There were these like flower dancers that were dancing along to the song, so they were in-universe dancing at the opening of the bridge, which was really funny. As
of the
Fiyero
road.
is, of the road,
Clearly
sorry.
not excited.
As Fiero's like, we're getting engaged, okay. And it's so funny
Having
that
a
like
panic attack.
Morrible helped to, orchestrate, but I like the little conversation they had behind the thing because Fiyero is not PR trained. So he gets on stage and Morrible's like, so how is it, Fiyero? And he's like, it's frustrating that we can't find her. And Morrible's like, no, that's not what we're talking about your engagement, stupid, right? So I like the conversation that they have at the back. It kind of, they did cut out like, oh, water can melt her. People are so empty-headed they'll believe anything. They only kept the they'll believe anything. They cut out Fiyero repeating what was said, which was fine. That's okay.
I did like that part about it where slowly, I don't know, like, you see that happen in real life.
Yeah.
Like suddenly like one weird untrue thing about a person or a group of people. Like, it's a lie that's repeated so often, people just assume it's correct.
But I do like
and they do really materialize out of nowhere. So that part felt very nice to me.
I agree with you. What I really liked about it is in the musical, here I got much more of the impression that because Fiyero's the captain of the guard, they're singing it to Fiyero. They're like, oh, Fiyero, we heard this information. Go, somebody go and melt her. Like, it felt more, there was more urgency as opposed to like, at least when I've seen it, right? I've only seen Wicked, I think, twice. I saw a touring one, and then I also saw the Broadway production in New York. So I can't, like, I don't have the most perfect memory of it. But I always thought that was more like, oh, people are gossiping, and they're like, oh, someone go and melt her. But this was like directed to Fiyero, like, you, sir, like, here's the vital information that you need to crack the case, because he just finished talking about how frustrated he is, right? So I liked how instead of like, oh, water will melt her, because Fiyero kind of like, he gets upset and he like runs off. This time he was like, oh, Glinda, like, you know, these fucking stupid people, like, do they really believe that? So I liked how they changed that. I thought there were good changes when there were changes in terms of like acting choices and stuff. I felt like most of the changes, if not all of them, in terms of line deliveries and stuff like that, made a lot more sense. I like them talking behind the screen. Now, here's a beef I have with Thank Goodness, okay? So Glinda has this section where presumably she is singing in her own mind, right? The confetti that is around Glinda is frozen in time. So it gives the idea that it's like, if it's not frozen, it's slow-mo at the very least, okay? Michelle Yeoh is in the background and moving around at full speed, and I was like, you know what? I can allow that, because maybe what they're trying to suggest is that Morrible knows that Glinda's unhappy, right, to a degree, and so she's kind of included in the inner thoughts because she knows that this is a sham and that this is kind of a facade, okay? I look in the audience, and an audience member, I can't do it right now, but they're standing, they're like they like sway back and forth, kind of as almost as if they drifted had to get their balance.
Do you think that's just a mistake that they
there
kept in?
There were a lot of audience members moving during the slow-mo, and it was very distracting. I'm not trying to be, you know, oh, Cal, that's a petty thing to nitpick or critique. It was like, I laughed, and this is not a funny scene.
There was a couple scenes where people laughed in the movie, in the packed theater.
So
filled with like wicked
Glinda
fans.
Is having a, you know, very emotionally conflicted moment, and then somebody
in the
like,
background.
Like, yeah, basically, kinda. It was distracting because I was like, oh, this is in her head, but then people were moving at full speed, even though some of them were moving and then some of them weren't moving, so I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, is this in her head, or is she talking to them and they're just not noticing because they're all celebrating? It was a bit of a moment where I was like confused. And so you don't want the audience to be confused in the middle of Glinda's emotionally conflicted, because that's a different take, right? If she's speaking to them and she's sort of trailing off and they're not listening to her, that is a different than, oh, she's just speaking in her head and they don't even notice, right? That changes like the circumstances of the scene. And so that annoyed me that I saw people shoot during it was so obvious. Maybe for the DVD they'll fix it, I don't know.
Perhaps.
Kind of how they fixed other stuff, but it was funny. I thought it was funny. Ariana was singing, she was acting her ass off, like it was, you know, I thought so anyway. It wasn't like, I don't think she's gonna win the Oscar, maybe that's a controversial sort of thing, but like more than I thought that she was capable
I feel like of the two of them, I think they want to give it to her because they gave her the new song.
Well,
like Girl
but
in the
they
Bubble.
would be, one of them would be leading, one of them would be supporting.
I guess so.
So,
yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, musicals don't often get seen as, like, the epitome of artistic acting and stuff like that in the first place. So I don't think, oh, like, you know, she's gonna win, like, the award or whatever. But for me, it was a lot more than I expected from her. A lot of people have trouble playing that because they kind of stick to, like, the sort of happy, right? Like, hers was nuanced. It reminded me, oh, gosh, if I remember her name, I'll put it here. Another Glinda performer that has, like, the most iconic, like, thank goodness, not Christian Chenoweth, it's somebody else. Thank goodness. Anything about thank goodness that you can remember? Because I did write notes, but like I said,
other than to be entirely honest with you, like that scene, when I watched Wicked, the first one, in theater with you, I was like, wow, that went by right fast. I didn't realize it was that long a movie. It was just, it felt like it had a lot of momentum. When we rewatched it, I was like, oh no, I see the parts where it drags.
Yeah.
Right? Like they turn Defying Gravity into like 10
15
minute long.
minutes.
Popular gets really strung out as well.
So does Dancing Through Life. When somebody actually left us a comment asking, like, are you going to talk about the abysmal pacing in movie musicals now? And how every song is like stretched out past what is reasonable, and I was like, yeah, I mean, that's true.
Upon
you know?
rewatching it, I noticed that. But in the moment, there was enough pageantry, everything else was strong enough that the first time I watched it, I didn't really see it.
Yeah.
First time watching Wicked 2, it drags.
Yeah.
I think especially the beginning. Up until Wonderful, that whole sequence for me dragged a little bit.
Yeah.
And then when we get to like the stuff with Nether Rose and Bach and all this sort of stuff, that dragged as well. The ending, like it starts speeding up. I don't know. It just. But then
I don't
the
know
ending
where
was
all the extra
overwhelming.
time went, because they apparently had extra time, and then it was just like, oh, but this is kind of exactly how it happened in the musical. Like, that's quite odd. There were some stuff that they added, obviously. Hunter, sorry, my phone is stuck.
I feel like I don't know if I mentioned this in a different video in here, but like I feel like in movies, if your beginning and your end are solid, it's okay if your middle drags a little bit, because you remember the beginning and you remember the end more strongly. Wicked, having like a rougher beginning, that's not good. I think
wonder if
it
they
left me
should've-
with a more negative impression of it.
If they should have given Elphaba a more exciting song. Okay, so we had to make a cut because I'm trying to think of like what kind of musical number I would write off the top of my head, which is very difficult. But basically what I wish they would have done is a sort of like, because there's already a lot of ballads in Act 2, right? So why did they write 2 more ballads, like 2 more slow, sad songs? Like, I wonder if what they should have done is had a song like with Elphaba, and then like, oh, you know, the people are like, oh, I heard that she did this, I heard she did that. You have the animals saying, oh, I hear that, you know, the Elphaba's doing this, maybe we should help her. Because something that they say is, I hear that rebel animals are giving her food and shelter. Do we ever see any rebel animals helping Elphaba? No, not until Chestery. So that was kind of weird that they didn't do that. And so I'm kind of wondering if you had this sort of, and you know what they could have done, which you guys may not like this depending on your Elphaba interpretations, but I'm thinking that Elphaba has this sort of like, wow, isn't it thrilling to be like going around and doing like these things, right? And so she could kind of be enjoying the rush, and so that's kind of foreshadowing to her being like, I feel more wicked, right?
Yeah,
she could
maybe.
be enjoying her activities and like, ha, in your face, wizard,
She could
you
feel
know?
righteous.
Yeah,
about
righteous,
it.
exactly.
Righteous, but also angry. I
So
think
like,
you still need that part.
imagine, sorry for this, but like imagine if like Light from Death Note had a musical number montage of killing like people, right? And talking about how euphoric it makes it feel, and meanwhile you have like Elle and the authorities being like, and we're gonna catch Kira. That is kind of, the Death Note musical unfortunately doesn't have something like that, so that's too bad. But that's what I'm imagining, right? And I get that Everyday More Wicked is sort of like that, but I'm saying Elphaba primary and then ensemble talking about Elphaba's actions, right? So that way we could get something more exciting, right? Because I want something like chaotic and just fast-paced and
it's
high
almost like
energy,
the show's called Wicked.
right?
And
you can see her, obviously she's doing it for a righteous reason, but you can see her start to,
in her
you know,
actions.
enjoy it though, like kind of, like, you
or
know.
if not that, at least it's like, it builds her character. Because, like, we'll get to it, but, like, No Place Like Home is good. It speaks to her better nature. Maybe you could have it after that.
Well, I wanted before that, when she was freeing the animals at the beginning, but I know what you're saying. So, okay, any more grievances about Thank Goodness?
Nope.
Okay, No Place Like Home. They were reheating When You Believe's nachos. Do they sound remotely similar? Not really. It's just the vibes. I can't really articulate it to you. I like the idea of having a song called No Place Like Home, right? To reference The Wizard of Oz. I have questions about this, though.
Is that a new song?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is one of the new songs. I have beef with this, though, thematically, okay? You can make the argument that Elphaba is still trying very hard to fit in now, in a sense. Even though she's been called wicked, she's trying to say that the wizard's a fraud, she's trying to save everybody. So maybe she still has dreams of being celebrated throughout Oz and whatever, right, once she takes down the wizard. However, No Place Like Home is completely contradictory to her ultimate fate. She will leave Oz. And I'm not saying you can't have characters be hypocritical, but they don't comment on, like, okay, I'm not saying they should have done it this cliche, because this is like Disney Channel original level dialogue, but I'm saying the essence of, I thought once that there was no place like home, but now I see that this was never my home to begin with. Like, also, I don't belong here, right? Like, she could have had a line like that, and I would have been like, okay, so she's learned from that mindset, and she doesn't agree with it anymore. But like, I got the vibe from the song that this was something she was really, like, she really believed in. She wasn't just saying that to the animals, right? And so it's weird then at the end of the movie that she leaves.
Yeah.
Because she basically buys into what the wizard says about, oh, we need an enemy.
It's almost
right?
like the ending's bad.
So I feel like that goes against the whole message. So I don't know why you would have her sing that. Now, it could be interesting if Elphaba had that like, oh, you know, this is your home, it may not be mine, and I've never belonged there, but you were here thousands and thousands of years before the wizard. You shouldn't leave, which is something we see in part 1. Mind you, right, the wizard covers up a bunch of animal iconography and religious symbolism with his own stuff, right? So you could have Elphaba make the argument of like, you shouldn't have to leave because of the wizard, and she does say that, and I appreciate that sort of message, if that makes sense, because no, like, they shouldn't have to leave. But then this causes problems later with Elphaba's character, and then also how the movie ends with the animals, and we'll talk about that. If you're like itching for us to talk about how Glinda solved racism, stay tuned, okay, to the end of the video. We're gonna kind of contain our thoughts right now. Like, at least address it later. I'm not saying that she can't have that sort of like hypocrisy, if you want to call it hypocrisy. I can't think of a better word for it right now, but the fact that they don't address it really bothers me. And it's just a sort of sad. You know what I would have liked? I wish that they had done flashbacks with her and Dosselbear, so she could have said the only time I ever felt at home was when you were with me. Don't you think that that was kind of weird, Hunter?
That scene, or like just Dosselbear in particular showing up?
First of all, Dosselbear being there was very convenient, if you
Yeah.
ask me. Like, did Nessa send her away? That's kind of
Or did she
diabolical.
just leave of her own right? I
Right?
mean, I enjoyed the song. I think it communicated a fair, I don't know, I of the two songs that they added, I think that one's slightly stronger.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I thought Girl in the Bubble was stronger, like, character-wise, but just, like, we didn't need to do all that, like, in terms of the point of the story. I mean, here's the thing, they're both a little bit superfluous. It works. I think it communicates, like, Elphaba's sympathies. Yeah. Or it restates Elphaba's sympathies. But I wish they had, like, memories of little Elphaba and Dosselbear, like, rocking her, like, telling her a story before bed, like, something to reinforce, like, the only time I've ever felt at home is when you've been in Oz. Like, that, I feel like,
the idea of, like, her just being like, I'm sorry, but, like, it's not gonna work. Like, that, I think, disheartens her in a way that they could have turned into a better thing later. Like, it could have been motivation for more interesting things later on.
Because Elphaba does ultimately lose this argument, right? Yeah. Like, because they find out that she's the one who transformed the monkeys, and they all kind of like, sorry. So she does start out as convincing them, but then it's like, she's the one that helped the wizard. And I do like that Elphaba says, like, and that's something I have to live with, but I'm trying to make it right now. Like, she acknowledged her fault, and like, but the wizard tricked me and all that. So I liked that, and I kind of like that she lost that conversation, but the fact that she lost that conversation is just so irrelevant. Like, it's so irrelevant. And like, you would think that that would cause her to spiral, because if I were Elphaba and the one person that loved me also didn't believe in me, that's when I would be starting on no good deed, right? Even the animals think you're evil and don't want your help. Why doesn't she comment on that and how much that sort of breaks her heart? Right? The people that used to accept her, like Dillamon, right, and her own nurse, didn't, left her too.
It could work really well, but it's undermined by the fact they don't really, like, you set up and then you pay off. They set up and then they didn't really pay off.
That's the biggest problem with the whole movie, I would say. There's a bunch of pieces of setup, even from part 1, that I thought were going to be important, and then they don't come back
also,
up.
and this goes into, like, I feel like a lot of my criticisms are more general. And I will mention it later on, but they make reference to the original Wizard of Oz, like, in the dialogue a lot. The first movie, like, the first part of Wicked, the first movie, it feels more distinct, like it gets to be its own thing, right? Because it's functionally a prequel. It's like, well, what was the witch and Glinda like when they were kids, functionally, right? It gets to be its own thing. By the time the second movie comes around, especially into the second and third act of the second movie of For Good, they really kind of railroad it. Yeah. Because it's like, okay, we have to do all of the Wizard of Oz things. All of these characters need to change. Bach needs to dramatic. Bach was okay. The Nessa stuff is dumb. We'll get into that soon. But like, and one of the things is they keep referencing it, and after a while I was like, oh, and then this is how the slivers get there, and then this is how he gets his act, like the magic slippers. The ruby red slippers. I
thought you said slivers. I
no,
was like,
no,
what
no,
are you
not
talking
slivers.
about? Sorry.
The slippers, and then like the axe, and oh, that's who the cowardly lion was. After a while, it feels like kind of railroaded, and I get that that's the whole point of it, but I was a little bit annoyed.
We'll get to that when it's more relevant. Oh, the other thing that happened in this scene was that Fiyero and the guards were looking for Elphaba, and it's presumably he did see her and he just let her go.
Yes.
So that's important for like Fiyero related stuff. But yeah, like I guess that's where all the time went, putting in these little action scenes that kind of didn't, but whatever. Elphaba saw the animals leaving. Oh, so they leave under the road, by the way. I don't know why they're doing that. I don't know why they're not just following the road out to the desert.
I mean, is it like an underground
I think they were trying to do
railroad?
underground railroad.
But it wasn't a
wasn't
literal
actual
underground railroad.
Like, yeah, so that was weird.
It's a
'Cause I'm
metaphor.
like, they're trying to go to the desert, right?
Yeah.
Like that, so just walk above, but I guess the point was that the guards, but there's not guards in the middle of the forest. The guards are only here because Elphaba's here. I don't think that there's guards, like, stationed in each, I don't know, maybe there are, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But, like, I didn't get, you know what? That would have been nice to see if there were guards stationed at each, you know, at these random places in the middle of the woods trying to stop the animals from leaving, like, almost at the desert border. They could have done something like that to show, like, that the guards are ready, like, the wizard's not letting anyone leave, so they had to go under, because them going under otherwise is just bizarre. Anyway.
It's like, visually, it's a little bit weird.
Yeah, like they dug under the road and they're just,
especially
because
like you see giraffes and you're telling me there's enough room in there for a giraffe?
So that was odd.
Who dug
that
it?
was odd.
Did like a bunch of moles dig it?
I don't know.
Is that how it
was
happened?
just weird. It was
It also
strange.
implied that like at one point like a little grasshopper comes by and like gives like a little like
yeah, I was thinking about that.
Like, wait, are the
butterflies
bugs?
animals? Are they sentient? Can
Are
they
the
talk?
bugs sentient?
Yeah,
Are the
because
bugs
there's a bunch
also?
of butterflies at Glinda's wedding.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering the whole time.
And there are birds that are fixing Glinda's.
Like, yeah.
Assuredly, if you're like a grasshopper,
That's
no
like-
one's gonna spot you.
No. Anything else about No Place Like Home other than it was kind of boring and why did they do this?
Like, more potential than they really delivered on.
Right,
is what I would say.
And I
about
think that we'll talk more at the end later. Okay, Wicked Witch of the East, Elphaba, Nessa, Rose, and Bach. Okay, so Elphaba goes to get Nessa's help. Now, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure this happens. Yeah, this is before. So Nessa's doing governess stuff, which is interesting. Yes. Like, that's a nice thing that they expanded on. So she gets this document like, oh, everyone's waiting for you to sign this, that animals need a travel permit to leave, because obviously they are leaving Oz and the government doesn't want them to leave. So she adds munchkins in there to make sure that Bach doesn't leave and go after Glinda.
Which is wild, because you're also a munchkin. So the fact that she's just able to do that is strange.
Right. Well, here's the thing. So someone in the background during the train scene, I don't know if you heard this. So Bach is leaving. He wants to go because Glinda's getting married. He has to tell her how whatever, right? So Bach tries to go on the train and they're like, munchkins aren't allowed. The governess just signed this. Animals and munchkins, right? And Nessa's face is there and all dictatory. And then someone in the background was like, this isn't the Oz I know. And I thought that was so funny because I'm like, yeah, you didn't care when it was the animals, but now that it's you, right now that you're in a press class of
though,
people, but that's
that is what happens.
I thought that was brilliant, but
Sure.
that's the thing, guys. All of these kind of brilliant things are in the background. Like, you know,
like that,
it's,
but that's also, that's compelling out of context. In
Right.
context, a munchkin did that to other munchkins.
Right.
And just because she was pissed off at her boyfriend or situationship for
is,
wanting
like,
to leave,
investigating
that part's
that
dumb.
mentality, I guess, that people have now that the munchkins are also kind of like oppressed in the same way as the animals, of like, oh, we didn't care when it was the animals, but now it's us, so now we care.
Which is fine,
right?
but in context, it's fucking stupid, because it's just the grudge of one woman.
Well, they don't know that, but
I know, but
like,
we
these
do,
kind of
'cause we saw
interesting
it.
political
Yeah.
things are not gonna go anywhere, so
that's the thing.
you
That's the thing about
Wicked
Wicked is that they set up interesting political ideas. And they just absolutely shit the bed. And they were supposed to fix it, and then they didn't.
Okay, so
which is what's so frustrating about
let's
the
talk
movie.
about Nessa's song, okay? So they lyrically changed it. This song isn't on the soundtrack, so I won't blame you if you don't remember. But basically, it starts out, all of my life I've depended on you. How do you think that feels? You know, there's some other stuff in between. And she says, longing to kick up my heels. So she's telling Elphaba, I've always had to depend on you. I want to walk. That's the whole point of the song, okay?
Also, just to mention, there's two different scenes where Elphaba shows up and glass shatters.
Yes.
And when the glass shatters, it always makes like a W.
Yeah, which
I thought was
that's
kind of
cute.
fun.
Yeah, this does
fun,
happen when Elphaba comes to visit her. So good on that good on you for mentioning that now. But
fun visual.
So okay, I like that they made Nessa want to fly instead of walk. However, they accidentally kind of undermined Nessa's character here, and here's why. In the original, she is talking about the span of her entire life, that she's always felt this way, right? And I understand that they didn't want to do an ableism, but they kind of did a misogyny, right? By having her entire character be like, I want to feel like on that night when Bach loved me. It's all about Bach now instead of her feelings. She feels like she is still othered by everyone because she's in the chair, right? I like that they made her fly, but these lyric changes, like, suck for that, because she's like, oh, you know, when I was at that night at the Ozzus, I was floating on air, and, like, does that make more sense for the story to kind of reference the Ozzus and stuff we saw? Of course.
And I also feel like you can make the, like, I want to be a man, but it's also everything else, like, she had
You want to be a man?
Oh, sorry, so you want a man. You want a man.
That's a whole different kind of
maybe,
story.
I don't know, maybe Nessa does, who knows, not my business, but like, I don't think it's just like the misogyny angle of like, I will be complete with a man. I think it was everything else.
Of course.
She had friends.
But I didn't love
things were
that.
simple.
I didn't love that they changed it like that. Here's what I think that they should have done, right? Like, yes, make her fly, right? Obviously, I think making her fly, like, everyone deserves a chance to fly, nice, like,
yes.
A+. But I feel like that the lyrics should have been tweaked a little bit. Here's what I would have done. Elphaba, you have this chip on your shoulder because you think that all of your life, everybody judges you, but have you ever thought that they judge me the exact same way,
yes.
right? You're so pissy that you've ignored that people have also othered me, and you haven't even helped your own sister. So I would have liked if they framed it that way, that it was like we are the same, Elphaba. All of this time, because of father treating me more special or whatever, you thought that like, oh, you know, everything's fine with Nessa, she gets all the attention, whatever. But it wasn't fine, because to everyone else, to the rest of the world, I might as well be green like you are, right?
Yeah.
They could have done something like that, but they didn't. They had it be all about Bach. So I'm saying, yes, have her, she wants to fly like that night at the Ozzus, because basically what she's saying is that that's the time that she felt like happy and like everyone else, right? So fine, like keep it, but the reason why I said they did a misogyny of trying to avoid the ableism is because it's just about Bach, right? Wicked Witch of the East is supposed to sort of be about Elphaba and Nessa's relationship and the resentment that Nessa has, and they do have that in the speaking sections, obviously. They have Nessa say, you didn't even come help your own sister, you weren't here when father died. They do have that. I just wish that they linked it that way. Have it start with Elphaba, we are the same, but there was one night where I actually felt like I was like everyone else, and it was that night with Bach. So you start with the sisterly dispute, then you lead into Bach. You don't just sing about just Bach, because I'm like, well, why would the man be there? Like, I get it, he's important to her story, but they kind of undermine the nuances of Nessa's character in trying to fix that. There was a way to do it so you could have the best of both worlds, and they just didn't hit that for me. But here's the other thing. Elphaba only makes her fly for that one scene. She doesn't do it again. I thought that she enchanted the shoes, and so that would be a permanent thing that Nessa would be able to do. You could have had her fly around during the storm. She doesn't. She's back in the chair, so I don't know what good that did, right? Even the flying monkeys, the spell's permanent. For the broom, the spell's permanent. So why is Nessa not flying?
Good point.
I don't know why. And she could have gotten sucked into the tornado if she was flying around like an idiot and like whatever, like, you know, looking for Bach. If she was flying, she could have gotten sucked in, and it would have been a bit like linked together, right? She could have gotten sucked into the like no capes, sucked into the cyclone, right? Because she's just out in the chair again looking for Bach, which is sort of strange based on how we like what we know that how magic works, right?
I will also say that that scene between the two of them, visually, I enjoyed it. They shoot Elphaba in a very nice way in a lot of the scenes.
Yeah.
She's always like very imposing in the frame. I like it a lot. But I just, the whole time, like all of the angst between her and Bach, like Nessa and Bach and Elphaba, it just felt so like such a B plot.
Which I felt would have helped if they focused on their beef. Because here's the thing. So they say in that scene, don't you want to know why father hated me? And Nessa's like, no, it doesn't matter anymore. And it was just one of those things where it's like in improv, you never say no. It was just funny because I get that that's like in Nessa's care, like what does it matter now, right? She doesn't want to talk about it, but I thought that was gonna get picked up somehow later, right? I thought that she would say, oh, this is why father hated you, because you were a witch back then and you're still a witch now, right? Like I thought that Nessa would explode on her after finding out what happened to Bach, but we didn't get the payoff of that, so it was a weird thing for Elphaba to be like, don't you want to know why father hated me? As if we were poised to get, like, a backstory
and like
or
the whole time you're like, I'm sorry you're having boy trouble. slavery.
Right,
There's
right,
a despot in control of everyone.
You
I
really
need
like
to
using the
kill
word
him.
despot since has been came
Well, yeah,
out.
or like, I don't know, dictator.
I know, it's just funny.
Authoritarian. At the end of the day, like I get it, like they're selling you on the interpersonal, but it's just
They
Bach
didn't
and Nessa
sell me
get like,
about
or they're
that.
trying to, but it just knocked it down in importance. I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is not the movie I care about right now.
Right,
Like,
right.
I'm sorry, but you have to do it because it's like, well, we need the Tin Man and we need
Right.
like her sister to the.
So I thought just connect,
We need
just
the house
give
to fall
a bit
on her.
more with Elphaba and Nessa, and then that kind of fixes
Yeah.
things. Or have
Makes
it be
it better.
more gradual for
You
her
know.
to be the Wicked Witch of the East. Because what, she did 2 things. She enacted
could
a
be-
bad law to keep Bach around, and she accidentally like used magic on him.
Or
But
it
that
could
was,
be
like,
like,
2
hey,
things.
help me raise an army, help me like stop this, right? So
Well,
it's like something like that.
Elphaba did ask,
Did
kinda,
ask, true,
sorta.
but, like,
she was
it
like,
kinda
can you
gets-
help me? And they said no,
But it's not focused. It doesn't really focus on that. It's like my problems with a boy.
maybe it should
Like-
have been, like, what do you think of this? Have Nessa do more bad things in terms of, like, animal law, and Elphaba be like, bestie, what the fuck is wrong with
Maybe,
you?
yeah.
Right? As, like, so it's, you know, you see that Nessa, because she signs, what, 1 law? And yeah, it's a bad law, but have her sort of this descent into dictatorship and tyranny where it's like, yeah, at first she, you know, stops the travel, and then after that, Munchkins can't marry non-Munchkins. So that way,
Miscegenation
right,
laws, yeah.
she can't, like, Bach can't even marry Glinda even if he does leave. Like, have it be a sort of, like,
But then you run into the issue, like, really, we're doing a fascism because a boy said no to you? Like, it's just, we're in a
that's
bit
her
of, like...
character, sorry!
I
I'm
know.
trying to help. Maybe I can't fix this
A lot of my problems, I think, with this movie are not really with the movie. They're with the source.
Yeah, I don't know if we can think about it off the
But,
top
like,
of our head
it,
after
like,
we just saw
we
it.
can
but-
identify the problems. I think if you pick some of the fixes, you get a better version. You don't get the perfect version. I don't know what the perfect version looks like.
Yeah. I wish that Nessa had a real crash out, because that's the other thing. So Wicked Witch of the East is supposed to be like, whoop, like it's supposed to like be held kind of for days. Her voice is great. Nessa's voice is, it's fine, right? But
Yes.
like she didn't belt it as I thought she was going to. It was sort of like Wicked Witch of the East. It wasn't, you know,
East.
right? So I was a bit disappointed because I really like Wicked Witch of the East, and so they kind of, again, it was all about Bach, and then she wasn't angry. It wasn't angsty enough, because like in the musical, it's angry, and she's like chasing Elphaba around in the wheelchair. Like it's all of the anger that she's ever felt towards her. Oh, and here's the other thing. Why wasn't it like, you embarrassed me at school and you're embarrassing me now, and why can't you ever just be normal? Like, you know, really explode at her and have all the stuff from part 1. You know what? I think that that's kind of the problem, is that sometimes they pretend that part 1 didn't exist. Like, and the characters
Maybe.
don't have these histories
Yeah,
between each other. Not
yeah.
all the time, but
Well,
that is an issue
Nessa,
for
if anything,
some
they
of it.
focus a little bit too much on Nessa. but-
Maybe. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
that's how I feel with, like, Nessa and
Maybe.
Elphaba, is that they didn't really dig into the full, because think of the Oz Dust. Nessa's
Yeah.
embarrassed. Think of when Elphaba speaks out in Dilliman's class, and Nessa's just like, ugh, right? Why is
My
my sister
green
doing this
sister.
again? Right? So, like, I wish that they had dug into, I wish
don't
it
know.
was a more meaty
Maybe I'm being
argument,
too
like how
mean.
sisters
Maybe
argue.
they did really, like, I don't know, develop out how much of a nightmare Nessa is for earlier on.
I don't think that
as
they
well.
did enough, though.
I don't know.
I don't think that they did enough to make her like a true, like, Wicked Witch of the East. Like, again, you
She
did
seems,
like
I mean, I guess
2
she's
bad
a little
things.
bit wicked,
At least
yeah.
give me 3 bad things, maybe. I like, though. Oh, what I will say is Bach's costume. So when he's back with Nessa, forced to be around Nessa, he has a very silver Tin Man-y
Yeah.
costume, and then he's also carrying a tea tray, and you actually see how the metal from the tea tray, like Elphaba,
Clamps
makes
onto
it
him.
to clamp on. So he's literally built out of the
And
things that
wait,
he did
is
for
there,
Nessa.
is there, like, does the scene with Nessa flying happen and then immediately after?
Bach, because
Bach
Bach
is-
is like, you don't need me anymore. I'm leaving.
Yeah, and then it's like,
Bye!
ha, about that, and then turns him into the Tin Man.
Yeah.
It's weird how Bach gets turned into Tin Man, and other than, like, one scene where he, like, gets angry and talks about wanting to murder the Wicked Witch of the West, wanting to
Right.
murder Elphaba, you don't really see him after that.
I mean, he tried.
He gave a good shot. They really leaned in on the body horror.
Yeah,
like,
I
it reminded
liked
me
it.
of almost like Alphonse Elric from Full Metal Alchemist, where it's like, oh, the horror of having your body be a plate.
I
You
really
never
liked it.
sleep. You're like, you don't have sensations in the same way. Like, it's kind
And
of
his exhaust
terrifying.
was over his heart, right? Like, it
Yeah.
was blowing. It was a very
And
good
the way
design.
he, like, he's big and creepy and he lumbers around and it looks like nightmarish. It's frightening in a way that is really interesting And
in a
like-
different movie
like
that's
they're-
not PG rated.
yeah, like I'm just saying, like they did creepy and upsetting there. You couldn't do it for Alphaba.
Right,
Like it's
right.
like, oh, that's kind of what the energy I
Or
wanted
just
for
even
Alphaba
like
as
other
well.
stuff. So let's
It was disturbing.
move
I
on
really
to
liked that part.
Wonderful. So how this scene ends is Nessa's like, "You're gonna go see Fiyero, aren't you? Because he's getting married." And then Alphaba doesn't go see Fiyero. She goes to see Glinda.
Yes.
So that's kind of hilarious that like Nessa was like
Because
trying
Glinda
to clock her teeth.
and
instead
Alphaba
she
are
went to
gay
go
for
see
each
Glinda.
other.
I like this
They
scene,
love
though.
each other.
I like how they kind of catch
It is
up in
what
a
it
little
is.
funny way, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you chill, like, how's it going?" Like, sort of that weird conversation, like you see
It's
someone from high
weird.
school, it's kind of funny.
Although if someone you knew from high school that you had a crush on becomes like a puppet of a fascist state.
Right, right.
I'm just saying, like, Alphaba behaves weird. It's like, you should be more pissed off with her. Like, this should be a little less, I don't know.
I don't know.
And they don't even play off the whole, like, this is kind of weird because you're, you know, a lunatic, clearly. Like, it just
Well,
does,
I
it
think
just
it's
felt a
because
little bit
Glinda
not
wants
quite
to
there.
believe that these things aren't true, right?
know.
And so Glinda's like, "Let's go,
But I'm not
go
talking,
talk to the wizard."
Glinda's fine. It's
Oh,
Alphaba
Alphaba's not
where I'm
that
like,
mad.
you're
Oh,
not,
I
like, you're
see.
behaving weirdly
Well, she
here.
did say, "What was I supposed to do?" Like, you know, so she does say that, right?
I guess so, but I just, I feel like there's a better version of that
But
scene
I
where...
can't remember it enough to argue with you,
'Cause, like,
but I'll
wouldn't
just
she-
say that I saw it a bit differently.
Okay, but like, wouldn't she feel probably more visibly betrayed?
But I'll take your word for it. So let's talk about Wonderful. I think adding Glinda was a good
Yes.
choice. People in our theater, they were getting up to pee during Wonderful.
Which is stupid.
Still,
my
Hunter,
my
I
my
like
hot
it too.
my hot take is that Wonderful is one of the best songs in Wicked. Like, I think it's underrated. When people talk about the good songs in Wicked, they talk about, like, No Good Deed, they talk about Popular and Loathing and
Defying Gravity.
No one really talks about
Wonderful.
Wonderful. And, like, the opening lines of, like, Solomon or Socrates, Dime a dozen
They-
mediocrities.
so they did
They
cut
that
that.
out. So they cut the fat of the song.
I wouldn't call that the fat,
Not
though.
really the fat, but like the stuff that, because like the point of Wonderful is to communicate, like, hey, this is why I do these things. Like,
Right.
Like he's pitching this kind of like moral relativism of like, it's okay if I do these things.
Right.
We need to lie to people. It's like basically his political manifesto.
Right,
That's
right.
compelling. And there's a lot of funny laugh lines. Like, you lied to them, only verbally.
Right, yeah.
Where I'm from, people believe all sorts of things that aren't true. We call it history.
Rich was in the musical, of course.
Yes, and then they added there. So, and Jeff Goldblum, who I was kind of okay in the first movie, he delivers it so wonderfully there. Like, I really liked it.
Here's my thing. I do think it makes sense to change Solomon and Socrates, because why would the
Yes.
wizard be bringing up figures that Elphaba doesn't know? Like, that's purely for the audience, right? So I like that they change it like, oh, take it from this old carny,
Yeah.
right? Like, this is what you have to do, right? But here's the problem. I feel like that softened the wizard in a way, because this made him more in a like, I'm performing, as opposed to like, in the original, he says, respected, worshipped even,
Yeah.
just because the folks in Oz, does it surprise you I got hooked in all too soon? What can I say? I got carried away and not just by balloon. They changed it, and I like the idea of changing it for
Yeah.
the sake of that, changing those references. But that kind of takes the teeth out of the wizard, because like, think about him
little
saying
bit.
respected, worshipped even, right? Like,
Yeah.
so he's saying that he got high on his own supply, and this one he's just like, oh, I'm just being a little performer. And that's my problem, I think, is that the wizard was already sort of a bit not too sympathetic, but like in the original musical, they kind of did lessen the teeth on the dictator, right? In this one, I
You're
hate
right,
to
there's
say
a,
it.
there's a bit of incongruity
He's a bit
there.
like Lucifer in Has Been Hotel, how Lucifer never knows where he is, and he's sort of bumbling, and he's like,
Yeah.
why am I in this weird box, right? This wizard had like dementia. He was stuttering, he was like, I love to play with my little toy. He was like kind of the Sultan from Aladdin, but if the
Yeah.
Sultan was doing dictator stuff, so I kind of,
I don't know,
I like the lyric change in that capacity, but not in the other one. Do you understand what I'm
Well,
saying?
because he
Does that make
acknowledges
sense?
that he's like kind of full of shit.
Well,
Right,
I
and
think
that he's
now,
manipulating
though, it's
people.
more like, it's less of
But
like,
he's,
you see
like,
less of
position-
the dictator in
Yeah.
him, and I don't like that. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. I can accept that.
Okay, so in the Broadway, they say, is one a crusader or a ruthless invader? But I will swear on my life that in the theater, what Jeff Goldblum sung was, is one a ruthless invader or righteous crusader? I don't
Yeah.
know why they did that, and in the official lyrics, that's not reflected, so I don't know. I swear that he said that. And I was like, oh, that's strange that they're making the Crusader righteous. I mean, it's not that weird because they're supposed to be pitted against each other, right? A Crusader versus an invader. Anyway, but it was just weird like they added those extra words. I swear, guys, did anybody else hear that? Let me know. But yeah, I like with our help, you can be the same. I like Glinda being like, think of what we can do together, right? So calling back to Unlimited. Now, to get back to the actual scene, I thought it was a great sequence. It was fun. There was dancing. Like, you know, Glinda definitely helped in terms of its importance, and you kind of believe more that Elphaba would actually be convinced by this. How do you feel about him having all the animals in his office? Because I'm like, that feels a little contrived. I guess he's like that kind of paranoid. Because here's the thing, he's still feeding them, right? Because Dr. Dilliman was kidnapped 12 moon tides ago, so I'm assuming that's like a full year has passed as opposed to 12 weeks. Or is it 12 days? No, it can't be.
Maybe
Nessa's
he's
a
like,
little older.
maybe, I don't know, they're experimenting on them because they've been like building like
See,
the
that
special
would have been
cages.
interesting to see, but they're all in cage. So someone goes in there to feed all the animals every day in the wizard's secret
What is
office.
Jeff Goldblum doing to those animals?
Right?
Yeah, now that you
Weird.
think about it, it's a
Like
little
that
bit
it's
odd.
in his office and it's very convenient. Now,
It would have been better if they were like found like the secret laboratory where they were like
Yeah,
experimenting on them.
right?
or-
Because it was weird that they were just all in there. Basically what they change is that the animals are in the cages. Elphaba finds them. She has that scene of Dilliman. And then that they crash the wedding of Glinda and Fiyero, which I guess is where our extra time went. Did we need to see the Glinda Fiyero wedding? I don't know, right? The stage musical does ignore the aspect of the animals. So do I want them to show Elphaba liberating the animals? Yes. Here's my problem though. This was stupid. It's stupid for the wizard to have them literally in his office. It's stupid for them to just be caged up on top of each other. Like, it's all very weird because it's like, and then you're keeping them alive. Why wouldn't you just kill them?
Especially because when she's like, lets go of the monkeys, the flying monkeys, you see that they're all trapped in a big cage in a tube.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, well, that's where I keep them. They like it in there. And you can tell he's lying about
but
like the
so
casual
the wizard
cruelty
concedes
of it
on that.
all.
So that's basically what happened. So Elphaba's like, I will agree with you if you free the animals. And the wizard's like, yeah, sure, let's go. And they start with the monkeys, right? And then Elphaba finds out that the wizard lied, that there were other animals. Why would you keep them alive? I feel like it was just fan service because at the end of the movie, Dr. Dilliman goes back to school. So it was like, yes, Elphaba did cause change and Dr. Dilliman was saved and all of that stuff. But like, if you were that worried, you would kill them. They'd be dead. You wouldn't keep them alive in cages unless you were experimenting, which that's an interesting idea that they don't do.
The politics is just kind of really inscrutable,
and I don't
they really
understand
dropped the ball.
how the animals are losing their voices to the point where Dilliman's like, bad, right, in something bad, right?
There
Because
must-
you
so
would
the
imply that it would be a
experimentation would-
magical thing or a serum of some kind,
Yeah.
right? So like you would expect, oh yeah, we're doing experiments on them to make them
good
lose their
thing
voices,
that they
right?
added,
Because
but
like,
they didn't
it's either
add
magic
to
or
it.
it's science, and we
Yeah.
don't know how it's happening. The wizard has no magic, so it has to be science. So how is it happening? How are they magically losing their voices? It's not Morrible, because she can only do weather magic.
She should have discovered like a secret like laboratory.
Like,
Yeah.
how is this happening? I don't know. They don't explain how the animals are losing the ability to speak.
Other
right?
than like they're all put in the magical cages.
No, but before that, Dilliman's already suffering the side effects of something and nothing. You know, what they could have done was like, oh, we're poisoning the water supply with this potion, right? Because the wizard has his little green alcohol that he drinks to numb himself or something. Like, they could have had, okay, this is random, but in the Lies of Locke Lamora, they have this thing
Fantasy
that
book.
I can't remember what it's called, but it makes the animals' eyes glaze over. And it puts them in this kind of docile state of like servitude. So like horses and cows, their bodies are moving, but they're brain dead, kind of. They could have been doing something like that. That's sort of like docile animals that can't talk anymore. They lose their humanity and their personage, right? Something like that. But yeah, I'll put it on screen if I can find it, what it's called. Oh yeah! Okay, my costume beef has finally come up. Ariana Grande's wedding dress was bad. Like, it was so un-Aussie.
Oh, right, yeah,
it was
it was,
just
like,
a
off to the
normal
side,
wedding dress. Like, it
weirdly,
had
yeah.
sort of a heart-shaped sort of bodice, and it was a little swirly, so it was like a little bit.
was not-
I'll
it
see
was
if I
very
can find
normal.
a picture. It was so normal,
Not
and I was
very
like,
fanciful.
girl, right? Did you not get that too? I was like, what happened? That was the one costume where I was like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah,
What
it
is
seemed
that?
a little like stripped down and not nearly fanciful
It was out
enough
of place,
for the
and she
setting.
had this pink thing over it, and I was like, oh, maybe that's part of the wedding dress. But no, that was like her nightgown that she's wearing on top of her dress during Wonderful so she can go sing and then get married. And I'm like, I'm imagining like Little Mermaid 80s giant puff sleeves and like that sort of thing. It was just weird. It was just bizarre. I hated it. I had such beef. I'm not that girl with Glinda. I didn't really have anything else to say other than like, that's fine. I feel like emotionally, Ariana pulled it off very well. I like the sort of go after her sister thing. Like Elphaba's too smart to be tricked by a fake, and so it's setting up that Nessa will die, but I don't really have anything else to say. As long as you're mine basically happens after this.
I learned in the middle of that we were in a theater packed with horny moms.
Okay, well, hold
people
on.
were like, woo!
The woos were performative. Those were not real. They didn't have, like, that was just people were wooing because they thought, like, that's what they should do at that moment. It wasn't real, in my opinion. Okay, I was gauging the vibes of the room. That was performative wooing, okay? In the stage, they're making out in the void, like, kind of in the woods, right? Like, and there's smoke and whatever. So it's like they're already kissing, and then Elphaba is like, I want to go further than the kissing. Like, let's live like there's no tomorrow. In here, I'm kind of gonna say they fucked it all up. They fucked up As Long As You're Mine, which is tragic because...
They made it tender and not horny.
Well, no, but here's my beef, okay? Elphaba is singing in her mind, presumably, right? In the musical, she's singing to Fiyero. I think, unless she's singing to him, but she's like not looking at him, which is kind of weird, I kind of took it as she's walking around her house and she's thinking, oh, this is what I want, but I don't know how to tell him. It's kind of a Nala, Simba, they're thinking in their heads. If it was directed towards Fiyero, the shot composition did not convey that. So I don't know if you guys interpreted it differently, but I thought she was singing to herself, right? This is what I want from you, but I don't know how to ask. Which, yes, Elphaba's nerdy, whatever, but it undermines the point because then Fiyero starts singing to her, right? They kind of have this, they kind of stretch it out because there's this interlude of like, oh, you know, don't call me beautiful, don't lie to me, but then he's like, no, it's not lying, it's seeing things from a different perspective, and then he has like, maybe I'm brainless, right? Whatever it is. Anyway, so that kind of undermines the point because Fiyero is now initiating the kissing, not Elphaba. In the original, I mean, they were already kissing, but the whole point is Elphaba saying, like, this is what I want. Kiss me too fiercely, hold me too tight, right? Like, this is what I've always wanted. In this, it's Fiyero's initiating. So I feel like it just messed it up a little bit in terms of the mutual romance. It was a weird choice and I don't like it. And it was not horny enough. Yes, they ended. Do I want Bridgerton? No, of course not. This is a movie.
But the guy's from
Children.
Bridgerton, so I think a bunch of Bridgerton fans kind of
children are
that.
sitting here, right? They do end up in the bed eventually, but like just walking around her house and she puts on her weird sort of forest knit lingerie
and they
in
start
this giant
flying
wool.
together in the
I
air.
like the fault line.
Yeah.
That was cute. I liked that. That was okay. But I'm just saying the physicality didn't start until the end of the song, but that's not what the song is about. The song is about the physicality starts first and then they're saying we want things to be this way forever. Like, that's a trajectory, not admitting the feelings, but that they already know how they feel about each other, but they want it to last forever. Because, like, it took away some of the initiative and just, like, Elphaba's desire and all of it. It's like she wasn't allowed to be the one who desired it. He had to initiate. I don't like that. In the musical, she's, like, pulling him by the shirt and saying, kiss me too fiercely, right?
I don't know. Everyone else in the theater got randy for it.
Performative woo. People got pressured to woo.
I don't know. I was like, whatever. I did enjoy it. I thought they went for like tenderness, and I thought that was nice.
No!
And conflicted.
That's not the point of the song, Hunter.
Okay.
It's sexy. It's supposed to be sexy, not tender, because here's the thing.
Well, I mean, you know, they changed other things.
No,
They're
but
just
here's why
a
they can't change
vision.
this, okay?
Okay, why
I
can't
don't know
they
if you
change it?
noticed this, but the bottom of As Long As You're Mine, the chords, that is the same as the da-na-na-na-na-na of opening in terms of no one mourns the wicked, right?
Yeah, okay.
So the opening slow chords are the same as the As Long As You're Mine chords. This is the moment where Elphaba, for the first time, takes what she wants and It's from someone else. It's from Glinda. So that's why it's important that they're kissing and that she initiates, and at the end she says, like, for the first time I feel wicked, because she's done something bad, right? And this is the no one mourns the wicked chords are underneath
They don't
it.
really communicate the whole you're stealing Glinda, but it's because it's also just like in my head, Glinda's not that sympathetic.
Well, you know what?
So that whole time I'm like, yeah, fuck her. I wouldn't date a fascist either.
Was that they were afraid of making Elphaba too polarizing, I guess, to the audience, like alienating her. So they decided, oh, let's make it Fiyero. So then it's like, oh, well, the man did it. You know, let's put the blame on the man, right? But that takes away like the agency of Elphaba and the fact that like it's not just, oh, Fiyero confessed his love for me and I just went along with it. No, like she steals him first, and that's important for the fight that happens after. So if you fuck up as long as you're mine, you kind of fuck up like Glinda's justified upsetness about all of this of you stole my man, because it's not you stole my man anymore. The man ran off. The man is the one who initiated the sex in the first place. Whereas as long as you're mine, it's Elphaba that is pushing for the sex because this could be when they die, right? So I think it messes it up, and like the chords underneath it are supposed to be, this is the first time that she's wicked. It's not wicked to be tender, it's wicked to be horny and steal your best friend's man on the wedding night. So yeah, I think that we needed that, right? We needed the as long as you're mine rant, and I don't like that. And I'm not like that meme of like, oh haha, when you're at the function and the misogyny sneaks through the crowd. I'm not saying it's misogynistic, but it's just like, oh well, of course the man has to be the one to initiate the intimacy, and it's like the man has to make the first move. What's wrong with the woman making the move?
You make a good point. I didn't stand out to me at the time, but you're right. I think you're right. That is flawed.
Sorry, it makes me mad, especially because of the chords.
You're right,
chords,
it's stupid, yeah.
The chords, guys, like underneath it, and people don't talk about that enough. As long as your mind chords are
they don't know the chords.
Anyway, and it's a waste of,
waste
Jonathan Bailey, too. Yes, he's shirtless when Elphaba and him wake up in the bed when she has the vision of Nessa dying, but I'm like,
this
movie was suffering from its PG sort of rating, right? I remember when I went to
tag
Wicked.
Fiyero.
No, okay, listen. I remember when I went to go see Wicked with my mom, and I was like 13 years old. She like covered my eyes jokingly during As Long As You're Mine, because it was so sexually charged.
That's pretty funny.
I don't know what else to tell you.
I don't know if in my head,
the sparks are flying.
It always felt more tender to me, but I see your point.
But you have to watch it live. Like when you watch it live, and she's literally like tugging on his shirt and undressing, and he's on his knees and anyway, it's just.
Okay, never mind.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know how they do it now. I'm just saying.
The reason why it's not a duet, because his mouth is otherwise occupied.
But yeah, so that fucks up. To me, I think that they did that because they were chicken. They didn't want people to be like, oh, Elphaba, you did wrong. She's the wicked witch, bestie. Like, you can't be afraid. And I feel like that sort of fear of alienation too much kind of led to why they made Glinda more sympathetic too. But like, anyway, Nessa died. Okay, so Nessa dies is a weird scene in terms of Elphaba and Glinda's confrontation, because they take the dialogue from the musical pretty much beat for beat.
Which is so weird.
But what's weird is so Elphaba's there and like, she's like, give me a minute with my sister, right? And so she's sort of like, oh, Nessa, and she, has her thoughts inside of her head or whatever. And then she starts like Glinda and her start railing into each other because Glinda's like, accidents do happen, and then Elphaba gets mad. But here's the thing. They didn't have Elphaba realize that Nessa's shoes were gone, and we as the audience also never see her legs.
Yeah.
So she never has that, where are my sister's shoes?
You even see her striped socks like it is in the original Wizard of Oz movie.
They keep referring to those in other scenes, right, when Nessa's alive, but they don't show it when
That's another
she's dead.
time when it's like, you're supposed to placement and then payoff, and then they placement and then they didn't pay off. It's just weird.
So Elphaba and Glinda fight, but then Elphaba says, you did this, and then you did that, and then you gave that little wretch like child my sister's shoes, right?
Do you think that's maybe like a copyright thing if it's too much like the original?
I
it's
don't
a copyright
think
infringement?
so, but here's the thing, okay? Fine, don't show her legs, I don't care. But Elphaba didn't realize that the shoes were gone. She just suddenly starts grilling Glinda about it. So where was the realization that Dorothy, why did she already know that Dorothy was sent off with her sister's shoes? What, did she see Dorothy while she was flying by and she was like, rant, rant, and she was looking through her witch binoculars and she saw that Dorothy was wearing them? Which, why, if that were the case, why wouldn't that be one of the first things that you say to Glinda? So I think that Elphaba did realize that the shoes were missing as she was praying for Nessa's soul or whatever, but like, she doesn't say anything about it though. She just throws it in with another list of grievances. In terms of like the little cat fight they have,
It's so tonally weird because I feel like they should, I don't know, it's like your sister just died, this girl just stole your man. You're on opposite sides of functionally a civil war. It shouldn't be, come here, Greenie. Yeah, it just strikes me as so, I wrote that as like, there's a lot of awkward scenes. That was one of the scenes I have as being very awkward. Glinda and Elphaba, and then the capture of Fiyero is a little bit sort of awkward after.
Which we'll talk about.
Yeah, soon. But yeah, it's just like, I understand that that's how it is in the musical, but like, my God, the musical's flawed. I know people love it. I know this is like a classic, and I'm not saying like completely to take it to shreds, but like, it's just weird. It's funny, but it's weird.
Okay, I get Glinda being
out of place.
Comedic, that's fine. But like, so they show
she gets a little like, when she gets mad, she has a bit of that like Christian Chenoweth affectation that she doesn't have in any of the other like movie or in the previous movie, so it makes it stand out even more super weird.
So here's the thing about that too, the other thing. So in What Is This Feeling, they go out of their way to show combat class. So I thought, oh, payoff, planting.
Oh, right.
We're going to see the combat class skill in this fight scene, and they did have a bit of that, like the broom and the wand hit each other, but like, no, it was not it.
It was also too silly, and it was like, it's undermining the drama of the moment. Like, I understand Wicked's not supposed to be like a death march through sadness.
Glinda has no magic, so like Elphaba would kind of take her down pretty easily, but then bring in the monkeys. I don't know, just do something that's kind of interesting. Here's something else that we have to talk about with Fiyero getting captured. I like Fiyero pointing the gun at Glinda, and Jonathan Bailey's acting I thought was actually quite good during that scene. Like, you could tell sort of the conflictedness in his face. I thought that it was very nice. Here's my thing though. Here's another beef I have. So the pacing of this in regards to No Good Deed, I think is like low-key abysmal, and here's what I mean. So Fiyero gets captured by the rest of the guardsmen. The guardsmen capture him and put him on a cross, basically, a scarecrow pole, and they beat him. That's fine. That's how it happens in the show. Here's the problem. So Elphaba flies all the way to the castle that Fiyero told her about, which is in the book. Good, like, good for you. Apparently nobody's there, which in the book there is a housekeeper lady there, but they didn't bring that in, so that's too bad. The castle is also weirdly designed where a lot of it is like, it's open concept as in it's open to like the sky, where she's able to just fly in, and it's like this weird gravity. So like the castle's bisected and she like goes in the mid. It's very strange. But anyway, so she starts singing No Good Deed and she's like, Fiyero, where are you? Already dead or bleeding? And it's like, you know where he is. He's back in the fucking field.
You could have helped him. You could have easily beaten those people up. We've seen you do it earlier in the movie.
Or whatever, but go on your broom, escape with the monkeys, whatever, and then circle back. Circle back around and fuck up those people. There's no reason why Elphaba can't just turn this broomstick around and go fuck people up, because we saw her fucking people up when she saved the animals. So by girl bossing Elphaba before, but refusing to girl bossify her later, No Good Deed is really awkward because she's having this freak out about Fiyero getting captured, right? But like, you know where he is, right? In the book, he gets captured and like brought to the wizard and he's being tortured, right? So like, I understand that in the show, they put him in the field because it's like, haha, he's in the field, he's strung up like a scarecrow, whatever. But like, you can do both things somehow, but have Elphaba at least try, right? Like, maybe she tries, but then Morrible comes in, and so it's like, okay, well, now she actually has to fall back because Morrible's here, right? And there's
Morrible's
like actual weather, lightning, bullshit, right? And so she's mad because Elphaba's like, I have all this power and I still can't beat Morrible, who only has control of the fucking weather. And that could have like been another reminder of Morrible's powers to foreshadow that she caused the tornado. I feel like that's pretty obvious to everybody watching, but whatever. For the children, I don't know. It's stupid. It's just stupid to have Elphaba like, Fiyero, where are you? He's right where you left him, and now you have all the monkeys. You can't go back for him Wizard of Oz, right? You bring him to the wizard's castle, or you need to have something, right, more formidable, because the monkeys have changed sides, I believe, by this point. So the monkeys are with Elphaba. So she has power. And this isn't me being like, CinemaSins, why doesn't they do the logical thing? I'm just saying that this is so illogical that she didn't even try, like, you know what I'm saying?
Maybe if they injured Elphaba as she
yeah,
left?
that would have been good too.
Yeah.
Shoot her. They have guns. No, everyone has guns. Was a gunshot? Was a gunshot this entire movie?
She has swords, you idiot! We all have swords!
You know what they also could have done if they didn't want it to be Elphaba? They could have had it be Chestery. Chestery gets shot in his wing. He can't fly. Elphaba needs to bring him back. They could have done something with the monkeys, because then it's like Elphaba can't be in two places at once. There were ways to fix it, is what I'm saying. There was a way somewhere to fix this, but it's so stupid. And Cynthia is like, she's giving the performance of a lifetime. I felt full body chills. That was when I was like, lock the fuck in to the rest of the movie, which it took a while.
Her version of No Good Deed is legitimately like awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
If she gets an award, it'll be for that.
Like,
it's like a
seriously.
It's like the benchmark. That moving forward, when people go see this show, they will be having their head Cynthia Erivo.
Because
she is the new
benchmark. A lot of people play it as a triumphant point, and she played it as more of an anguish and like kind of a made of stone Quasimodo, like things are fine, like hopeless,
which is really
forever point. But I just have a problem with like the scene
and
before
the cinematography is great. There's so much red. The monkeys are going around like.
Because I swear in the musical, what happens is she's settled at the castle and she's like, where is he? Like, why isn't Fiyero here yet? Right? Like she's panicked because he hasn't returned. Right? So I think that they should have kind of made the time a bit further.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that something else about No Good Deed that I have to complain about is that Elphaba says no good deed will I ever do again, and she doesn't go bop the wizard or anything, right? She doesn't do anything.
Can we
She's
finally
just
go?
We're almost Hunter. We have 3 songs
left.
Okay. March of the Witch Hunters. I was really excited. I actually hit Hunter and I was like, it's happening, because I love that
it's
song.
great. Like,
I thought
the song
the people
is
with
wonderful.
the torches, it was so mob song, but they did bisect it and put Girl in the Bubble in the middle of the song, which again, that poor commenter that had that thing about pacing and like, why is everything so weird?
Which is why I kind of prefer like No Place Like Home, because at least it has its own space to breathe. Like obviously it doesn't really like, you know, it doesn't really go anywhere. But like it's placed nicer. With this one, it's like a weird. I like the idea.
Like
of this
we
song.
gotta go make Glinda sympathetic.
Yeah.
That should have been, you know where they should have put that? It should have been on her wedding day. She's looking at herself in her wedding dress after everything's ruined. Put it there. Maybe it would have been interesting if, like, the bubble popping, because it's like, oh, the bubble's popping, so now I'm gonna go help Elphaba. Maybe they should have made it so it's like, oh, the bubble's popping, so now I realize that, like, I need to be wicked too. Like, I need to play the political game, because, like, she lost Elphaba, she lost Fiyero. I know that the point is that at the end of the song, it's like, the bubble's popping, so I'm gonna go help Elphaba. I understand that that's the payoff of it.
Song.
However, in terms of the rest of it, it fits a lot better in the wedding destruction scene, because she could think it's time for the girl in the bubble to pop, and then maybe that's when she's like, use her sister, right? And that's where it's popping. Like, oh, you know, she's lost hope that Elphaba will ever be redeemed. And then you could have Girl in a Bubble reprise later where she's like, no, I was wrong. I have to go help Elphaba if you really want to.
That's a move. I like the idea of the reprise.
So it could be a double thing. Yeah. At first, it's like, I've lost hope for Elphaba and Fiyero, and then it's like, no, I'm gonna go help them. And so we could have been a short little
the shot where it once again, cinematography quite nice. The shot where it like focuses on Ariana Grande's like face as Elphaba, as like Morrible and the wizard are talking in the back, and she first suggests go after her sister.
Yeah, that was
like
awesome.
She's so heartbroken as it kind of like pans over her face.
Yeah,
it really was. And it was really well done.
And in this one, like, they had her, like, looking in the mirror, and the mirror was bubble-shaped.
When they give her moments to, like, I don't know, because otherwise she's just behaving so silly, and she's like this big pink rubber ball ricocheting around the room half the time. When they give her moments of, like, sincerity and severity, she can do a lot with it.
Yeah, but
unfortunately,
it's the placement, right?
Yeah.
I kind of wish that Elphaba went to go fuck people up during March of the Witch Hunters.
Yes.
Like, I think that would have been better than her, because Glinda obviously comes from war.
Elphaba commit violence.
Like, Glinda, basically what happens after is she puts on the cape, she puts on her boots, Elphaba's boots, and then climbs on Fiyero's horse, which is kind of funny that Fiyero just left his fucking horse, whatever. Anyway.
If I can't ride him, I'll at least ride his horse.
Oh god, anyway, so, Glinda's like, oh, they're coming for you, right? And I'm like, wouldn't the monkeys tell Elphaba that? Like, I don't know if you had to come all the way here, but okay. So I kind of wish that if we were gonna make anything longer, have Elphaba go fuck up the mob a little bit. And that sort of reinforces why she needs to leave, because she kind of succumbed to the image of her, and so now there's no going back. Whereas with Wonderful and stuff, I mean, they did a lot of propaganda. I don't know how they would fix it. In the musical version, you kind of believe that it could be fixed if she just joins with the wizard, but in this one, they make her so much of an enemy. Like, how do you, I guess the wizard does say, like, the most celebrated are the rehabilitated, right? So he implied, like, there's a plan. He doesn't say that, though, in Wonderful this time. No, he doesn't, which I thought that was very odd. I don't believe he does. So I wish that she did more evil, because that could reinforce her decision of, like, oh, but I succumbed to the evil, Glinda. It's too late. Like, I have to leave now. Right, whatever. For good, I was surprised that, like, I didn't cry. I didn't really feel that emotionally. I don't know.
And For Good is where they sort of sing to each other.
Yeah. And so people were sniffling. I heard sniffles. So people were emotionally impacted.
I did not give it to me.
I was crying in the first movie for no reason. Like, I was crying in Wicked Part 1 at the most, like, random ass shit.
When they did that weird dance at each other.
Yeah, like, I was crying during the dance. This, for some reason, I don't know what it is. I couldn't articulate it if I tried. The vibes were just, throughout the whole movie, the vibes were off. And so even though this scene was very good and very well acted and all that stuff, there was just something where I was like, I don't know, it's not even that I don't believe it, but there was part of me that I didn't.
Just the lyrics for me, it's like, I don't know, it wasn't as like punchy and heartbreaking, and there wasn't like a little heartbreaking moments. It was just like, here's some lovely lyrics.
I mean, For Good is like
describing how we care about each other.
Like you sing it at graduation, and it's sort of vague. You know what? Maybe it's because it doesn't actually reference any of the moments that they had together.
It needs like more of a hook.
Like a comet pulled from orbit. Like, you guys have stars? You guys have planets? Like, hello, right? You know how they say, it's funny, they say
metaphors
it's fantasy
of pretty things
when it's a kingdom or a continent, but as soon as you mention being on a planet, suddenly you're sci-fi, right? I don't entirely agree with that, but that's something that, I don't know who said it, but somebody important said it apparently. So I just think that that's always funny. Like, you're mentioning space. Well, hold on a second, right? We're in Oz. And I always sort of thought that Oz was like a world of fiction, and the reason why the desert was blank was because it was a storybook, like there were unwritten stories, and that's why the pages were never. Anyway, that's a whole other sort of thing. Again, like I said, I feel like I should have cried, but I was sitting there, and for some reason I was like, there's something weird about this. And you guys will have to tell me in the comments. I don't remember if both of them find out that Fiyero is dead before For Good, because I would say that if that's a new addition, that was a cheap way of having them bury the hatchet with each other, because Fiyero's out of the picture, so we can't complain about you stealing my man anymore. Now, obviously, Glinda could have just gotten over it, but the lack of time skip is part of why it doesn't seem as believable.
You stole my man. Oh, you aided and embedded a government that, like, kidnapped and enslaved sentient beings. Sorry?
But do you understand what I mean? Like, I'm like, that's a bit of a, I always thought that there was a time skip with no good deed, right? Yeah. So believing that For Good, Glinda has kind of gotten over, right, her beef and whatever, but they kind of were like, oh, they both found out Fiyero's dead, and then they started singing to each other. Maybe it's supposed to be, oh, life is fleeting, so we should tell each other how we really feel now, but like, Glinda came all the way here, so clearly she's changed sides at this point. I don't know, there was just something off about it. Let me know if you guys agree. I feel like that the best songs were No Good Deed and Wonderful, which is kind of a crazy thing to say.
Wonderful is a great song, underrated.
Right? So
Wonderful
I expected a lot from For Good,
excited.
And it wasn't the performance or anything. Like, it wasn't that.
I just
it was
don't
just
know.
something
like, personally,
else.
I just think the songs just doesn't do it for me. Here's the thing, other people were crying. You made me laugh because at the end of
oh yeah, so basically what happens is Elphaba's like, you can't be here when Dorothy and company. Well, I guess it's just Dorothy, because the monkeys steal her. Oh, we should have mentioned this earlier. There's a lot of fun stuff with Dorothy where you only see like the back of her head.
Yeah.
When she's kidnapped by the monkey, you only see her legs and her shoes.
I like that it's just like, on one hand, the story does feel railroaded in that we have to build up all of the thing first. Hey, instead of saying something clever or interesting, it's like, remember this?
Yeah,
Remember that?
But I liked the monkey, like, snatched her and we only saw, like, her legs and the shoes,
so
right?
like a lot of the railroading around it where we have to do Wizard of Oz now. Sorry, kids. If you were, like, that kind of annoyed me, but the stuff with Dorothy was a lot of fun, and that she's always just a little bit off screen.
Yeah.
She's always, you never really see her face.
There was a great scene at the end where basically, like, you see Dorothy, she picks up the water bucket, and you see Alphabet pumping the bucket a couple shots before that, so you see that she's preparing to capitalize on the lies, right? And you see Dorothy throw it, but she's in shadow, right? And then you see Alphabet's shadow, and then Alphabet puts on the performance of her life and melts, and Glinda's in the closet watching through, like, a peephole.
They literally say, like, I love you too.
And
then
they
Alphabet
shove her in the closet.
pushes her in the closet. A literal
so I leaned
closet.
over to Hunter, and I was like, Hunter, they pushed her in the closet. And then Hunter laughed a little too loud, and I was like, oh no, I'm embarrassed now.
Because I just started busting a gut. Because, like, obviously, and I think the guy who wrote the Wicked book has come out and basically said that, like, yeah, they're a little bit gay for each other.
Right, they kiss in the book.
Yeah,
so,
they do.
Yeah, well, you didn't read it because you didn't like the writing. Yeah, so they do kiss in the book. So, like, yeah, they're a little gay, right?
And they're a little gay here, too. But, like, the fact that she's literally pushed in the closet just killed me.
But I do feel like that undermined Fiyero's role in Elphaba's life, because Fiyero is supposed to parallel Glinda in a sense, like, he used to be like Glinda, but he changed, but Glinda changed, like, too little too late. That's why they couldn't be together, right? And so the problem is that you have, like, I don't want to call it queer baiting, okay? But...
No.
But Nessa says, you're gonna go see Fiyero, aren't you? And then Elphaba goes sees, like, Glinda, right? You have this scene of them fondly remembering their memories, and it's Glinda and Elphaba, and they're holding each other. Not Fiyero, right? Nothing to do with Fiyero. So it kind of, like, I know that they wanted to show how special the friendship is, but it feels like, oh, we know people like the ship, so we're gonna put all these scenes in, and then, but that kind of fucks up the Fiyero thing and the love that Fiyero and Elphaba have for each other, because every time Elphaba in the musical is supposed to be obsessed with Fiyero, it gets, like, the obsession goes to Glinda, which, like, it's a weird sort of thing that they don't entirely commit to one or the other. Obviously, they commit to Fiyero in the end, but I'm saying, in terms of the new stuff they added, it's just weird. But I think that the acting from Ariana Grande was really good here. Yeah. Like, how she's watching in horror in the closet, and she's covering her mouth. Like, it was just, you know,
everyone
I felt
here,
like it was real.
except for maybe Michelle Yeoh, are very, and I love her, but, you know, it's not her role, right? Like, it is what it is. Like, they all did an amazing job. It's just, you know, the material they were given to, they were given to work with wasn't always the best. But, like, my God, like, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, they did, like, a generational job at it. I think they did very well.
Now we're wrapping up. This was a lot longer than I thought it was gonna be, but we had a lot of complaints, whereas last time I was like, oh, this was so good, and this was a good thing they did, and I got it done in an hour, and there weren't two of us, so double the review, because double the thoughts, right? Okay, so basically what happens is Glinda goes back, she makes the wizard leave, well, she finds the bottle with Elphaba's hat. She shows it to the wizard, and she's basically like, you killed your own daughter, you
because
sick
you
son
gave
of a bitch.
gave it to
the woman,
which
Elphaba's
is in
mother.
the beginning scene. And I remember when we watched that, I'm like, if they digital de-age Jeff Goldblum, it's gonna be weird. They did digitally de-age him.
I thought that was another actor.
No, that was Jeff Goldblum digitally de-aged. I believe he looked weird, and like people giggled in the audience when that was revealed. I didn't realize.
I thought it was just a man.
No, that was digitally
like with
de-aged Jeff
to
Goldblum.
Kind of make them look like.
It was super weird, and then he
and
has
then
his
like, leave because you killed your daughter.
And it's like, oh, that's why she's so powerful, because she's of two worlds. And then he gets up and he just leaves. And I'm sorry, but for me, that's not believable.
This is where I'll disagree with you, because they planted, I never had a family of my own. I want to treat each citizen of Oz a son or daughter. He really wanted Elphaba, like in the musical it's just Elphaba, but then it's Elphaba Glinda. Like he really wanted his own family, right? And you could say that this is a manifestation of that desire on a larger scale, is creating a society where he's at the top, like he'd be the head of a household in a sort of 1940s,
nuclear family.
Nuclear family type
nuclear
way,
family.
as opposed to whatever was going on with the animals before, which again, guys, I feel like we could make an entire video just about the animals at this point, but anyway. So, I believe it. You killed your own daughter, and this wizard was, again, he was a bit more bumbling, he was kind of dementia-coded, like, sometimes in some of his scenes, so I believe that this would horrify him enough that he would go home. I get why you don't. I agree with you in the musical interpretation, but with this one, I feel like it's passable.
I just don't feel that way because, like, I interpreted that whole, like, I always wanted a family as his bluster. Like, he's a bullshit artist.
No, I think that it was supposed to be sincere.
Well, then it is not played off as sincere. I do not interpret
really?
it as
That's I thought that
especially because in his song, they added all that stuff about being like, a flim-flam artist, and people will buy the nonsense, right? So I interpreted that of him just telling them what they wanted to hear. Hey, don't you want to be interpreted in that?
Maybe that's where adding Glinda was a bad decision then, because in the original Wonderful, it's supposed to be like, hey, Elphaba, like me and you, like let's have a heart-to-heart.
Right,
so
and
maybe
he's
it was
like,
more of a
he's
performance
killing
that would be
people.
Your problem.
He's killing people of Oz. He took a bunch of the citizens of Oz and like made them second-class citizens. He took away their ability to speak. He enslaved them. There's a scene in Wonderful I recognize. At the very beginning, he takes a globe and he tosses it up in the air and he floats and he bounces it around a bit. That is a reference to a very famous movie, a very classic movie starring Charlie Chaplin called The Great Dictator. It's a satire about Adolf Hitler and fascism and dictators in the 1930s. Before the Second World War. And there's a famous scene where Charlie Chaplin, playing this parody of Adolf Hitler, realizes that he has intentions to take over the world, and he takes the globe and he does this very famous dance where he bounces around with the room with it. And they're kind of, I think, directly referencing that.
Right.
As a way to be like, this guy's a dictator. Right. He has aspirations to control the world. Like, and I just don't think you can draw a comparison. The director of this film,
like, you can't do that
movie.
If he's supposed to be like.
You can't draw those direct comparisons to fascists and dictators and slave owners and be like, well, he was sad because he killed his daughter. Famously, a lot of those guys don't really care about their children. See Stalin, see Adolf Hitler. He did not have kids, but he did terrible things to other family members of his.
Right.
Like,
right.
I'm sorry. It's just really the idea that he's like, oh, fiddlesticks, I guess I'm out. Like, that's just so unbelievable to me. And it just, because he just left.
Glinda was forcing him to leave.
I know that, but I know, and that's the thing.
Would
that
it help
annoyed
you
me.
if she had the guards with her, like something like that?
Well, the monkeys were in the background, but that's the other thing. The whole, like, bloodless coup, where it's like, oh, I'm taking you all out. Like, it was just kind of anticlimactic.
I think it's, like, supposed to... Again, that's one of the things that are a holdover from the movie, because doesn't he also leave?
Wait, does he? I want to look this up. Okay, can we pause? I'm so sorry. Can we pause for a second?
But I'll keep talking. Glinda has no magic, so also, how does no place like home even work? Right? Because Glinda has no real powers.
Because I guess in the book, she's actually magical?
No, but I'm saying in Wicked, Hunter, like in Wicked, how do they explain that Dorothy's able to click her heels and go home? Right? Because presumably Dorothy does go home eventually. Like, we see her. It's kind of funny. She's like, wait, take me with you.
Wait, okay, I take it back. Yeah, he goes home in that one too. He goes home in the movie, yeah. When he offers to take her back to Kansas with him abroad, she accepts, but Toto jumps out of her arms and she goes after him and the balloon accidentally lifts off with just a wizard aboard. Okay, so that happens in... I don't remember that happening in the original movie.
Okay, so in Wicked, he ignores her, and she's like, wait, take me with you, and she's just jumping up and down. She was on the tile, and he was lifting off already, so maybe he took her off screen, and she still jumped on, but he was already like, bye, everybody, and Dorothy was like, wait.
Okay.
So I don't know how Dorothy got home.
In my memory...
No, I can see the shot in my mind. She's standing on the tile, and she's like, wait a minute, I want to go home too, and he's just in the balloon like, bye, citizens! You'll be in good hands with Glinda!
But no, I could have sworn she goes off in a balloon.
This person says, we see the balloon leave without her. That's why Glinda then says it never ends with that girl. You can hear her say something like, wait, what about me? So you're wrong, Hunter.
Okay,
so, because somebody had that same question, and they said, maybe it's not shown, but Glinda asks Elphaba for help to send Dorothy home. Elphaba realizes the shoes are still enchanted by the Grimoire and tells Elphaba how Dorothy can go back. That's people's speculation. So, no, people on Reddit also remember what I remember, which was the wizard has got up and left without her. Okay, so... with that new context, that we remember that in the original movie, the wizard doesn't help, right? I get that they want to be true to the original movie, so they have the wizard go home. But it's already different, right? But it's already different,
okay,
so let's kill him!
So my main, yeah, so okay, so I'm sorry, I've come back to my main point. You've already changed enough. Bach in the original book, in like the original, in the movie didn't exist, and then in the original L. Frank Baum book, he's just a different character that's not at all connected to the Tin Man. So you've already changed a bunch from the original. Just change some more. Kill the wizard.
Right. So,
right? And I think that's
because I think that's what happened. They wanted to show, oh, the balloon's leaving and Dorothy, like, they wanted to be canonical. But I'm just like, but Dorothy doesn't climb in the balloon anyway, so just get rid of it.
Here's what I think they could have done that would have been better.
Okay.
I think that, like, after, like, she thinks Fiyero's dead.
Right, Elphaba goes in.
Yeah, Elphaba goes in, kills the wizard, kills Madame Morrible. Maybe you have a good fight, like, scene between them, and, like, maybe a good song there. And then she leaves.
And that's why she's wicked and she can't come back, because she killed these people.
And then she goes in there, then she fakes her death, and then she fakes her death with Dorothy. You see Glinda gets to become the de facto ruler of Oz.
Right, and so she's not jumping up and down
she's
like,
just
wait,
like,
take me with you.
like, she's coming, and she can kind of, like, do the thing that the wizard told her to, and what Elphaba told her to, which is basically, like, pretend I'm a villain if it helps people. So she can be like, we defeated the wicked witch.
We lost Morrible.
We lost, but don't worry, I'm here to protect us all.
I see what you're saying.
I think that would have been better than her weird bloodless coup.
I think I don't know. Part of me thinks that may be a little too crazy. I agree with, like, the vibes here of, I think a big crime of the musical is that Elphaba says, no good deed will I do again, and then she doesn't do anything. So would killing the wizard and Morrible be the point of no return? Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I think some people may be like, Hunter, that's too fanficky or something. Like, I think that some people, but at least the wizard, because I'm pretty sure she does kill the wizard in the book. I don't think Morrible exists. I do think that's a problem, because I think that the problem with the book is that the book is like, this is a descent into villainy. What the musical is that this person was always misunderstood to the very end. I feel like that there's a way to marry those things together, that Elphaba does something wicked where there's no coming back, but she's justified, right? It's justified to kill the wizard and Morrible at the end of the day. They killed Fiyero in her head, so she thinks, right? So I agree with you. I don't know if that would test well, I guess. I don't know how people would feel about that, but I agree with the premise that after no good deed, Elphaba should do something bad. And so some of you guys may be like, but Cal, that's not the point. The point is that she, was just trying to do good until the very end, but it's not. No good deed will I do. Again, that is like her cementing that she couldn't succeed in saving Fiyero or Nessa or Dilliman, and so now she's going to use her powers for eval. At least I've always thought that that's like what she's deciding at the end of the song to some degree, right? She could just be deciding to give up, but that's not really how it's played on Broadway. So again, some people may be like, but Cal, you're mischaracterizing Elphaba, but I'm saying that maybe the characterization of Elphaba is already a little suspect compared to the book.
At the beginning, they talk about, like, are people born wicked or do they have wickedness thrust upon them?
And that's
she had wickedness thrust upon them.
The book, right? So the point of the book is that she does become evil. She does do bad things, but it's for justice, right? Because there's not going to be any other way to get justice.
And the copy that I think I still have, and that your copy of the book, it's like the framing, because the dust cover shows a hole into the actual, like, hardcover of the book, and you just see her face. But if you take the dust cover off, you see that it's like, and she looks scary, her, like, face is
it's
obscured.
the rest of her with the animals.
But she's holding the animals, she's like a friend to the animals. Like, the whole idea is the framing.
You can still make it that, like, Elphaba was misunderstood, and there was propaganda about her, but have her do something drastic, right? And I think that the audience would still root for her, and you would get the best of both themes.
Or it'll make you question the idea of, like, well, what is necessarily wickedness?
Wicked. Was it wicked to kill the dictator?
Or is it just a matter of perspective, like Oz says in Wonderful?
Right, exactly. So I don't think that it's too against the themes to make Elphaba do something bad. I don't think it is, and I'll argue with you about it.
Do you think maybe she just whacks Morrible, but doesn't quite do the Oz when
I think she should get one murder.
I think
Just
Elphaba
one, not
deserves to
both of
kill
them.
one person.
Yeah.
Because then Glinda's bloodless coup makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
Right? Because then, like, Madame Morrible is powerful in magic. The idea that she just gives up the fight.
Right. So that's
is
the other
silly.
thing that we didn't explain yet. So, bottle scene happens, and then after that, Morrible gets taken to prison by the flying monkeys, and Glinda's like, yeah. And then Glinda goes to town, and they have the wicked, like, finale, like, who can say if I've been changed for the better? And Glinda's like, you come out too, and I've ended racism, and will never be racist again. And then at the end, they have the duet, right? And here's another beef I have. In the musical, Fiyero and Elphaba are holding hands and they are going through the desert together.
Yes.
In this one, Elphaba is trailing behind Fiyero and Fiero's walking alone. That is very different framing, right? That again, I'm like, are they trying to appeal to the shippers? What's going on here? They didn't want to make people mad and have them holding hands. It undermines the romance. I don't care how much you hate Fiyero. I love Yuri, okay? I love women. I would love it if they got together at the end of Wicked, but
I'm
I
okay
don't
with
care
that not
how
happening.
much you hate Fiyero. He's thematically important, right? He changed before Glinda could. He gave up his position of power as the prince, right? He's supposed to foil her. So if you ruin the relation, anyway. So oh right, Fiyero. It's like the plan worked, and I'm
And
like,
you
when
see
did
his, like,
you come in
I
here?
will
Like, how
say,
did you get here?
The special effects, some of the animals looked a little wonky at times, but Fiero's, like, Scarecrow face was interesting how they did it.
He was horrifying. I thought it was
a little
ugly. I thought
and
it
it's
was
just like,
awful.
don't you, like, still like me? And they were like, I
That
still
was
find
nice,
you handsome.
though. I thought that was cute.
It's just
'cause,
kind of
like,
funny
he
because
gave
it's
away
like,
his appearance at the. Here's the other thing.
are you gonna
though.
have another night of passion when you have to worry about splinters?
Here's the problem, okay? Let his flesh not be torn, let his blood feel no sting. If they beat him, let him feel no pain. No matter how they try to destroy him, let him never die. So,
He
Fiero's
should have been
immortal.
made out of jello.
No. Fiero's immortal and is gonna outlive Elphaba, right? And that's something that's, like, kind of never addressed. And the other thing is, and my other beef at this ending, is that Elphaba gives Glinda the Grimory. I can't remember if they do that in the musical. You guys let me know. And the Grimory opens for her at the end. And so that kind of hints that the book is reacting to Elphaba. Right? Elphaba's still alive. The book is reacting to her and her feelings, even from all the way out in the fucking desert, right? I can't remember if they gave the Grimory to Glinda in the musical, but it opening for her, like, some people thought that was fan servicey of like, oh, look, Glinda has actual magic because now she's good. I don't think that that's what it was. I thought it was supposed to be like, Elphaba said she can never know that we're alive, but Glinda finds out and, like, lets them live in peace. Oh, speaking of animals, we have a special guest here. Okay, so now the moment that you guys have all been waiting for is my beef about the animals. I will make sure to put a timestamp and have that be,
Let's get
like,
ready
very
to
apparent.
rumble.
I don't know if you guys can see Archie's.
Our own
Archie, our
animal
own
has
animal
appeared.
is back
Hello.
there. Hi, my
Hi.
little guy. What's going on? But anyway, we have to keep working.
Are
I'm
you worried that
sorry.
your rights are going to be taken
Okay.
away by the wizard?
So let's talk about the animal subplot. Was it done better than in the Broadway musical? Yes, because they never bring it up in the musical again after Wonderful. Does that mean they fixed it? In my opinion, no. And here's what I'm gonna, let me cook for a second, because I have particular beef with this, okay? So in Something Bad, they talk about a vicar has been forbidden to preach, which begs the question of what are they preaching,
Yes.
right? You have these other instances where at Shiz and other places that animal iconography, right, some of it religious, some of it just like scholar Socrates in the robes, whatever, has been covered up, like animal imagery covered up by the wizard. So here was and maybe this was a bad presumption to make, however, I don't think that it was, and I'll argue for why. So, the prophecy section of the Wonderful Wise Ones, where there's a prophecy of the person that can read the Grimory, and that being presumably the wizard, they all think it is, obviously it's not, it's Elphaba. That is the only religion that we have in the world. So, in my mind, it only seems logical that the reason why the wizard would be persecuting the animals is because they have a different religion. They don't believe that he's the one who can read the Grimory. And that's why he's the vicar, right? Took the vicar out and all of these other people in these positions, because Dilliman sort of alludes to like don't believe their lies. Kind of alludes to like there's a more to the story. We never find out. had to be an inciting incident other than like, oh, well, you know, the best way to keep the power is having an enemy. Because
that's what they should have added to Wonderful. The idea that like, hey, I only persecute them because
they don't believe in
me.
I need that seems reasonable, because otherwise
people
what do you need
a common
an enemy for? Yeah. You only need an enemy if people are doubting you, if they're arguing against you, right? And so, again, not like, oh, there has to be a reason, but that could have been where it stems from, because otherwise, like, why do you need enemies? You have no political opponents. There's nobody, like, that's voting for you. You already have absolute power. You're basically
no glimmering daggers in the dark.
Democracy, so it's not like you have to steal somebody's votes or anything. And so, like, it doesn't make sense to me why you would even need an enemy. You have absolute power. You're the wizard. You only need power if people are doubting you. So what's logical to me, especially with all the Prince of Egypt sort of Moses things going on, is like the animals are of a different religion. They don't believe that the wizard is the one that read the Grimoire. They're still waiting. They're still waiting for the savior that has been prophesized to deliver them or whatever, right? And so that was my theory. That's what I thought that the Act 2 conflict and reveal was gonna be, is that the animals don't believe in the wizard, right? And so when Elphaba does all of her magic shit in front of Oz and starts flying around, they're like, oh, she's the one. Because remember, Morrible says, and she's stolen our Grimoire. So if I were an animal professor like Dilliman and I had brain cells to rub together, my first thought was, oh, she's taken the Grimoire, she's flying around, and she's doing magic. Clearly, she is the one that has the power, not the wizard, right? And so that the animals would rally against her, because something weird that they say, right, during the thank goodness is that, like, I hear that rebel animals are giving her food and shelter. Fucking where?
Yeah,
that didn't happen.
Who rebel animals?
Who? And why would they do that? That is, like, the one thing that I feel like would fix almost everything that we have a problem with, right? Because if you introduce that, I understand No Place Like Home that some of the animals, like, don't believe her because she transformed the monkeys or whatever, but not everyone is gonna think the exact same, right? Have animals that believe in Elphaba, that support her, and have that be kind of the reveal in Wonderful of, well, they were speaking out against me. They were saying that I'm not the true, like, prophet that can read the Grimoire. They were telling everyone that I can't read it, so I had to lock them up, right? Because otherwise it's like, well, you have absolute power, so are people speaking out against you? Like, were they speaking out against you? Were they saying that you shouldn't be in power? Like, you wonder why he needed an enemy in the first place to get people to root for him, because people already thought that he was the prophesized one.
There was no real challenge to your power. If the animals represented that, then, like, there we go.
Exactly, right? And so that's a bizarre thing. Like, that's just so bizarre, right? And so my other question is that when we're doing any sort of story, but especially musicals, we ask why now? Because people are only now losing their ability to speak. Now, the problem with that is something we mentioned earlier. How? Morrible has no powers related to that. The wizard has no magic and must be science. Do we see a laboratory where they're making no speak serum? No, right? So that's stupid too.
They could have definitely added that.
Right?
Like, that's what she should have discovered.
Exactly.
Right?
And so it's like, oh, if they can't speak out against me and keep spreading, then I'm not the real prophet. That's my main animal thing, is there was all this, like, symbolism in the first movie. The wizard covered up their religion. Again, you mentioned the vicar with a thriving flock. What was he teaching? We don't know. The only religion that we know about is that wise one thing. And I'm starting to think that they just shoehorned that in there because they wanted Idina Menzel and Christian Chenoweth to come sing something. But, like, the idea of prophecies and stuff is something in the original Wicked book. Now, I don't have
also,
a photographic
religion in general is brought up multiple times in that book.
Right. But I'm saying, like, the prophet, I think, was more akin to, like, Ozma and stuff, which that's a whole other can of worms, but whatever. Either way, now at the desert thing, right? Glinda's like, we ended racism. Here's what I thought was gonna happen, okay? When I watched the first movie. I thought that Elphaba was going to take some of the animals, not all of them, but the ones that sided with her, and they were going to go into the desert and go to the other side of Oz. I thought that Elphaba was going to lead some of the animals in, like, to the promised land or whatever.
Yeah, basically Prince of Egypt, what happens after?
Because here's the other thing, okay? Glinda solving racism isn't just silly. It functionally doesn't make sense for Docile Bear. How did they know, right? Did this all happen in the span of the day? How would the bear and all of those other people that were in the scene where Elphaba sung No Place Like Home find out that suddenly racism is over and climb out of the tunnels from the other side of the desert, right? So it should have been, I understand that, like, yes, Elphaba has a good good point. This is their home and they shouldn't have to leave. But also, remember the snow leopard at the beginning of the movie who said, I'm leaving Oz while I still have the words to say goodbye. People have left already. So it doesn't make sense that there's no animals with Elphaba whatsoever and everybody just came out of the tunnels because Glinda ended racism. They wouldn't have known. They would have been gone already. They would have been like too far out into the desert to be told such a thing had happened.
And
right?
also, like, functionally, that's just not how racism works. You'll be like, hey guys, I know that we've had presumably decades of demonizing these people, but I said it's okay, so it's okay. Like, that's just not how it works.
If you brought in the religious thing, was that Glinda is the one that can read the Grimoire. Look, she has the Grimoire, here's the proof, she's the chosen one now, right? Yeah. Obviously, some of the animals, the ones that sided with Elphaba, would know that that's bullshit, but, like, that could change the tide of the people, because it's like, they kind of find out that the wizard was a fraud after he's already gone, it doesn't matter anymore, right? She's the one that was prophesized about, it gives legitimacy to her power, she has the book, she does a spell, she sends Dorothy home, and that could even be evidence, right? Even though it's kind of a sham and like the shoes were already enchanted, they don't need to know that. So Glinda will say, I'm the person that they talked about in the book, let me show you, I will send this lost child home. Dorothy goes home, everyone's like, woo, right? And so that sort of helps, doesn't erase, right? Because we can't solve racism, but that gets people on board, right? Because it's like, oh, we were persecuting the animals because they said that the wizard was a fraud, and like Glinda's our actual savior. Yeah. So that would get the people on board by using Glinda as the connecting point.
But that's not how they do it in the movie.
No.
It's like that old Family Guy gag of like, looks guys, democracy kicked in. It's like, look guys, racism
and
no
I'm
more.
Not just saying,
like Dillman's back in his office,
Cal,
all the animals are in the crowd.
You just wanted your theory to be right. I'm
it
sorry.
It works better
I think
for
my
the story.
Theory is better. I'm sorry. I do think that it is, and I won't apologize, even though I said I'm sorry. But like, I don't know if that's an arrogant thing to say. Maybe it is, but I think that my arrogance is well-founded to some extent, you know, in this circumstance, because it would have made more sense. There are already people that left Oz. There are already animals out there. I get it that they wanted to do, oh, there's no place like home. You shouldn't have to leave. This land was stolen from you. You shouldn't have to leave. I think Elphaba says that, like, those words exactly in the song, right? It's a very powerful message. However, like Elphaba, it's reasonable to think that there would be some animals who find this place too painful to go back to, and they want to leave, and they want a fresh start somewhere.
And it's just not realistic to expect suddenly it'll be okay, don't worry.
Right, and so
like,
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, sure, have some people stay so you can, like, you know, drill that message in of, like, Dilliman and stuff like that. Like, this is their home and they shouldn't have to, to go and whatever.
Because it's not like people are just mean to you. Like, slavery.
Have some of the animals be like, no, this place has been nothing but pain for us. We want to live somewhere else. Like, we want to go somewhere that's whatever, right? And, like, there's probably somewhere beyond that there's no people, because in the books it's a bit different. But anyway, like, the rest of Oz is supposed to be unwritten to some extent. So, like, maybe when they go there, new land will manifest out of the pages of the book. I don't know, right? Anyway, so what I'm saying is that it's stupid. It's so stupid that they planted all that shit. Who was that for, right? And I think that that's kind of the crux of Hunter and I's problem after this 2-hour discussion, is that all of the interesting political stuff is in the background. And the problem with that is that when a good writer puts stuff in the background, it's because they want to reward the viewer for noticing something that will one day be in the forefront, right? And so it's like, if you missed it, don't worry about it, right? But the people that saw it, it was like you were in on what was about to happen.
You're rewarded for your attention. Exactly.
So I kind of feel like my attention was betrayed because I, like, studied those things very carefully. I had the wise one thing. And, like, I guess we don't know, maybe the argument is, but Cal, we don't know if the Wise One story was real to begin with, but, like, then talk about that, because I kind of thought that it was legitimate up until where the wizard is the one that successfully, right? Like, I kind of believe that that was, like, a religion in Oz. Also, like, Elphaba's taking a moment with her sister. She's not, like, praying to, like, Jesus, but, like, you know, obviously they believe in some sort of spirituality if they're talking about vicars and other, like, religious people. Right? So that's really baffling to me, is that you set all of this up, you have no place like home, reheating Prince of Egypt's nachos, right? And then you didn't do anything with that.
A lot of nachos being reheated in this movie.
All of the background stuff didn't matter. Like, none of it mattered, and it pisses me off. Because what was the point? You know? Like, it's not enough to just, like, oh, world building in the background, right? You do it for a reason. And I feel like that the serum thing and the religion thing were really compelling things that they could have easily added, and it wouldn't have disrupted the flow or anything too much, right? Like, and maybe it's supposed to be, but the whole point is, Cal, that Alphabet doesn't have people that believe in her, but like, Fiyero believes in her, so we already gave her that one. Like, you could give her just a couple. It doesn't need to be thousands of animals. It could be like 10, right? 12 disciple animal. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying, but I just think it's so silly how Glinda was just like, and never again will we do slavery. And I'm just like, okay, I'm glad that you addressed it as opposed to the musical where you never talk about it again. But like, there would be some people that like resent you forever and ever, and they're never gonna forgive you, and they wouldn't want to live here anymore because they've seen how the people that they cared about, their students, their friends, turned against them just because they were animals. They would want to go.
At the end of the day, Ariana Grande, the person who has been every race, is the only one who's able to truly save us from racism.
It's just so stupid.
It's really
and like
disappointing
it's
and
such the
frustrating.
childish, and I know that it's a kids movie, but like, it's not really. It's not real. It's a movie for everyone. Kids can enjoy it.
Like the Wicked book was for adults.
Yeah, like kids can enjoy it, like as it is now.
It's not. It was not like made for children.
Like, so I think that that's just
PG-13 at least.
A disservice, right? Like, to the themes of the novel and even the themes of the musical, because the themes are still in the original. A man's called a traitor or liberator, right? Like, all of that stuff is about, you know, fascism. Like, Wicked is still always about fascism. It doesn't matter if it's the novel, it doesn't matter if it's the musical, so it just feels like they really took the bite out of it. And I think it's that PG kind of rating thing that we said earlier.
I don't know. It's like it doesn't want to commit.
No.
Like, I think it like half of it wants it to be like this big political thing that makes these big points, and the other half wants to just be like, oh, it's about like love and a love triangle or a love square and people's emotions, and don't you love the Wizard of Oz? Like, and it kind of. You could still have all that interpersonal stuff, but you have to deliver on the politics, or else it just feels like it's flailing around.
And you could still intertwine the personal stuff with what I'm talking about, because think about Glinda having no real power in that flashback from her childhood that we saw and whatever, and then it's like, oh, Elphaba's the prophecy, right? She could have a little bit of jealousy over that Elphaba's this chosen one, and
but
like, what was she given,
why do all this build-up if you're not gonna sell it? And they did a better job, it's an improvement, but improving on bad can still be bad. The bar's low.
And so I think that, in summary, after 2 hours, is that did they fix Wicked Act 2? No, they didn't fix it. Like, they improved upon it, but that wasn't hard because it was already not very good in the first place. But did they fix it? No, they didn't fix it. I don't think they truly fixed the animal plotline. Maybe, like, for children, to make sure children know that racism's wrong or whatever, but, like, fix in, like, an actual, tangible, mature way, no. Like, it's stupid, it's silly, and it's really sad.
Which is a shame, because the movie, other than that, is very strong. It is beautifully shot. The performances are wonderful. Except for that one. The songs are really quite good.
They didn't put any effort into the script, which is what needed the most help.
It's just because because everything is all so like well done, it just makes, by comparison, the flaw of the script and the ending all that more embarrassing and obvious.
Yeah, I think embarrassing is a good word. Honestly, I think it's
frustrating. I'm sort of frustrated.
Oh, hi, Archie. You're back? Yeah, I know. You're frustrated too, buddy. It's okay. Don't worry.
They did us dirty, the animals.
But I guess that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have any other things to say. I think we answered.
I still enjoyed it.
People did leave us questions, and though I didn't, like, do a Q&A directly, I'm sure we answered.
Do you think they would ever do another version of this?
I honestly don't know, because here's the thing. Like, the story is really about Elphaba and Glinda's friendship, right? Like, you have Liar, and you have, like, the characters from the book and all that stuff, but then you get into, like, Liar is in, like, a polyamorous threesome, and he's bisexual, and there's other people, like, they don't want to do all that, you know?
I don't know. Are these two movies, in your mind, like, the definitive movie musical of Wicked? In a way that, like, the original West Side Story is kind of the definitive, right?
I don't know. because part of me feels like they aren't gonna do it again for like another like 50 years.
Yeah.
So in this lifetime, like, yeah, I think this is
when
the
we're
best
when we're old
get.
and gray.
Yeah.
We're gonna find each other and we're gonna do another review.
Remake. No, because I think that there is stuff that can be improved upon, and so I think that like if the opportunity in the future, I you know, Hollywood loves remaking stuff. It'll happen. I mean, even Disney did. What was it called? Oz the Great and Powerful.
Yes,
right?
which is a hilarious
is not
movie.
Related to Wicked, but I'm just saying
because like they couldn't
it's
use.
gonna happen. Like eventually they're gonna make another one. But I'm also not gonna kind of hold out hope for that either. You know what I mean? Like well, here's the thing, guys. I don't have a lot of love in my heart for live action stuff anyway.
Yeah.
I've talked about this before that Anyway, I don't want to get into all of it now, but I have beef with like film acting.
If they do,
and
if they
whatever.
think they do like a Wicked animated movie,
yeah, like that's what is in my heart. That's what's in my soul. That's what I would want them to do. So like, I don't really like. I don't know. Like the success or failure of this isn't as important to me as. Like, when I look at something like Wish and I'm like, come on, Disney, you're better than this. Because did I really think that Wicked, like, part 2 was gonna portray the racism plotline properly? Like, I guess part of me thought that it could, but, like, now in hindsight, I'm like, yeah, that was a stupid
But then again,
thing for me
also,
to think,
like,
you
it's
know?
just time of, like, the world we live in right now. It's like people are shying away from stuff like that. So maybe there was a draft and they decided against it.
Maybe,
you
I don't know. But it's...
It doesn't. It does. I love it. I don't know if it feels like the definitive version.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like that to me
Cynthia
either.
Erivo feels like a definitive alphabet.
Like this is how alphabet should always be played.
Yeah.
Right. I like the vulnerability that she.
Everyone
brought to
else
it
is
and
really
else,
great,
right?
but it doesn't feel like the definitive to me in the way that some movie musicals can be. Like the way that like the Chicago movie feels like the definitive Chicago in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think that I don't know. Like I said, this may be all we ever get, but I've never been that sort of like, oh, we need a movie.
Yeah, that's true.
I need a pro shot.
Well, I don't ever need
a movie.
Yeah,
like,
pro shots are fun.
I need a Hadestown pro shot. I don't need a Hadestown movie unless it's animated.
Don't need a Hamilton movie. I don't care to have... Like, because, like, so many of the recent ones
I do hope
have
that this
not been
opens
good.
up the door, though, for more movie musicals. I will say, I hope that Disney
original movie musicals
finally realizes that they fumbled the bag by, like, just being how they have been, right? And so original or adaptions, like, this is kind of crazy, but, like, what if they animated Shrek the Musical, like, with DreamWorks Animation and, like, actual Shrek animation? I kind of think that that's a sort of interesting idea. Like, I wouldn't hate that. Right? And so I think that, like, I hope that I want Wicked to be successful. I want Wicked to be successful because of what it represents, because of what it means for movie musicals and things like that. But I do have to say that this is why some people don't like musicals, because they see, I know, Archie, the
I know
outcry,
you hate musicals, right?
Right? So, like, the musicals aren't taken as serious art because everything has a happy end, and I know like Sweeney Todd and Les Mis and whatever, but even there it's like Joanna and the boy Anthony, they get away, and then in Les Mis, Cosette, and because that's the trope, right? The young lovers always escape the conflict, and like everybody else fucking dies, right?
Yeah.
So that is a criticism that a lot of people that hate musicals will tell you, is that like it can never be serious or tragic. Everything has to have a happy ending. Everything needs to be wrapped up in a nice little bow. And so I will say that even though like Wicked's very important to me and I want it to succeed for those reasons, I also have to say that part of this represents, I think, like the worst of musical theater in terms of tone, not in terms of acting or performance or even songs or anything like that, but in terms of story, and people thinking that musical theater stories are frivolous and the stories are always bad, even with the songs being bangers, and like the weakness of the script. This is kind of like the worst manifestation of that, because you're putting that on a movie scale of like, I think, as much as I think that theater going audiences have been marvelized and people's the taste of the general public is bad. Sorry if that makes me sound kind of elitist or whatever. Like, I do think that like the general public is smart enough to be like, that was not very well written. Even this, right?
Yeah.
Even just like, again, why can't the animals speak anymore? Like stuff like that, right? Like, I think that the general public is going to scrutinize that, and they already have. Rotten Tomatoes, I mean, I guess the audience
Have the
score
Rotten
is higher.
Tomatoes been like a
It's
little
like
rough?
70%, which isn't terrible,
That's
but
fair.
it's not what I expected
I think
it to
70
be.
is kind of fair.
Oh no,
for
I
it,
think
you
it's
know?
fair, but I'm saying beforehand I would have expected
To
like
be lower.
85.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
higher. Like I would have expected before we saw it.
Right,
I
okay,
thought that it would be as highly praised as the last one. I was hoping, right? Yeah, obviously the audience score, like people are gonna like it, whatever.
Do you think they should have
if this
kept
is
it?
supposed to be introducing again musicals to some degree to a non-musical theater going audience or whatever, like oh it's Wicked and everybody loves Wicked and it's popular, like haha, or whatever. Like I feel like that this is why the non-theater going audience doesn't like musicals and looks down on musicals and like musicals aren't valid for, you know, Oscar nominations and stuff because of shit like this where they just, everything is just nice and neat and we ended racism with one speech. Glinda ended racism, right? Like that's why. And I think that's not good.
And at the end of the day, like, I think musical theater's doing fairly well. There's been so many, like, classics that came out, like, in the 2010s. Right? Like, in a lot of ways, it doesn't really need Hollywood.
Right, I agree with
it's like
you. Need pro shots, like I said.
The biggest vector of, like, popularity, seemingly, like, the internet. People on Tumblr, people on TikTok, people on, like, YouTube, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think
Hollywood needs theater more than theater needs Hollywood.
I agree, because Hollywood's running out of new ideas and making musicals is a very easy thing to do.
And I guess my last question, do you think it would have been a better idea if they just did it one movie?
No.
You think?
I don't think they could have fixed the problems in part two.
That's true. Yeah.
That's the thing, right? But at the same time, all this extra time and they didn't fix anything.
Yeah,
I
so,
think they
I don't
could
know.
have done it if it was 3 hours, 30 minutes.
If they really, like, juiced it up.
I
they
think
made
they
it like
could
a long
have done it.
movie.
I could have one long movie, 3 hours and 30 minutes.
240. It's like 244 for each part.
Yeah, I think so.
So then that's like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Or like 5 hours.
5 hours.
Five and a
right.
half.
So I think that like maybe if the original movie was 3 hours long.
You know what?
But at that point, that's as long as the stage musical, sort of, give or take, right?
I
Not
mean,
exactly, but.
I think, I don't know. It'll be fun to see if any like editors out there can splice together the 2 movies into one cohesive whole. I think that would be curious.
Yeah, like that'd be interesting.
Because
I'm
like
sure
people
it'll
did
come
that
out
with
as
the Kill Bill movies.
You know, something like it'll
The
come out
marathon
together.
session?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Amazon or something. But yeah, let us know your thoughts, guys. I know that we had lots of thoughts. I'm
Angry,
sorry.
happy. I still liked it.
I mean, yeah, I enjoyed it.
For what it was
Somebody
worth.
asked, did you have fun? So yeah, I did
had
have fun. Did I have fun to like go on a night when I have a lot of shit to do? Like, I don't know. It wasn't, I didn't need to see it as urgently as I thought I did. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, of course we enjoyed it. And like, it was still good, but it's frustrating. Like, as an audience member, we had a good time. I'd say that we had a fun little
But as I
as
exited,
a critic,
I was like,
and as like people that care a lot about this stuff, we
Yeah.
were kind of like, ugh.
That's what we like to call a compliment sandwich.
You're right, exactly. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys had fun. This has been Calxiyn Caring Way Too Much with Hunter. Check out our merch or something. Go check out whatever video's on screen right now. We'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.